aluminum cert as it is.
Oh, your SARD cert, you have also mold measurement equipment which goes down.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. It is SERT, Cert Metal France.
Yes.
Right. Well, let me welcome Sharmaji, Mr. Vijay Sharma of Jindal Stainless. Sharmaji, namaskar. Namaskar, Sharmaji.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir? All well?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharma sir. May I also welcome Mr. Massimo Butto. Mr. Massimo Butto is from Danieli.
Hello.
And Mr. Butto is the manager for proposal DWU sales team based out of Butrio.
Correct. Hi, everybody.
Hello and buongiorno.
Thanks so much. Buongiorno to you.
Morning, Mr. Butto.
Morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, great. So how are things in Butrio now?
Pretty good. So the situation is moving on. So the market also start again to get some business. So the situation is becoming better and better.
Yeah,
not so bad.
Not so bad. And I heard Danieli within the company has also started vaccinating all the employees of Danieli. So have you taken the vaccine?
Yeah. I already taken the first shot. And already also planned the second one, but I think also for this reason is going better also from this point of view. So hoping that the situation all around the world also is going better, that also allow us to start again our normal business.
That's right.
Hoping so.
So wish you all the best, and please stay with us. So we will start in a few minutes.
Okay.
And my best wishes to the entire Danieli team there in Butrio, and I'm sure you will have many more orders to come in this current year with the market opening up right now, and quite a few orders are expected from everywhere around the world, including countries like India, Bangladesh, and this region. I expect Danieli to do well everywhere.
Yeah, hoping so.
Yeah, great. So with that, Ankit, can you open the panel for all attendees?
Yes, I've done.
You have done, okay.
And I've also started the live stream on YouTube. I will just share the link in the chat as well if anyone wants to watch on YouTube or share it with someone.
Yeah. And why don't you share the link also on Facebook so that we can.
Yeah.
So we still have another 13 minutes to go. Yeah, Mr. Chakravarti, please stay with us. Another 13 minutes, 3:30 exact, we will start. Sharmaji, 10 minutes out time they reach it, 3:30.
Absolutely no problems. Absolutely no problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Ankit, Mr. Anil Chaudhary has not joined, right, so far?
No, not yet.
Sridhar is normally on time. Sridhar should be joining anytime. So, Brotoda, in spite of all efforts, both SMS and Primetals both have, mentioned that they have to be given enough time for them to join. So this was too short a time for them. So let's hope in future we can give them enough time, at least a few months in advance, so that they can join.
Yes.
Ankit, Somen Chakravarti has just put in a comment that he is unable to hear. But I think it is okay.
Yeah, I think it is connection issue, maybe.
Yeah.
Rejoining.
Yeah.
He's
Is there any background noise from my microphone?
No,
Okay.
no feed.
Because my fan is on today. It's a little warm.
Okay. So, what is the temperature like today?
I don't know. I'll check. It is 27 degrees.
Oh, very warm. Very warm.
Yeah. And inside the room, it would be warmer. It's like 30 degrees almost.
Did it rain yesterday? No.
No.
Just check in the attendee list if by chance anyone has. No, I can't see anyone. Another 9 minutes. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. Ankit,
Hello.
yeah, Mr. Anil Chaudhary, it seems has joined us. Can you just promote him to the panel?
He's in the
Yes.
panel.
He's
Yeah.
in the panel.
Thank you. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm in the panel only. Thank you.
Chaudhary sir, thank you. Thank you.
Afternoon.
Namaskar. Good
Namaskar.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chaudhary uncle.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Okay. So, Mr. Sanjay Sharma has also joined. Sanjay ji, namaskar.
Yes, sir. Namaskar.
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 Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon to Sanjay ji. How are things in Dolvi right now?
Dolvi, things are good. Now we are preparing for this startup of the new facilities, the 5 million ton expansion.
And things that are in Vijayanagar is also going fine. Everything is,
Nagar is stable. There were some disruptions when this oxygen we started to supply to the government.
Right.
Some this thing, but we believe that in coming days the oxygen requirement for medical use will come down. Then we can ramp up again to the design to the plant capacity.
Right. And the hospital in, which was being put up, that is operational right now?
It is in operation, but very, very good news that it is not being utilized because the numbers have dramatically come down. So our facility itself had, the existing hospital had a large number of beds available. So against capacity expansion for the new hospital, it was 1,000 beds. Our current usage is 20-25 only. And that will also, we think that will not be there.
That is good news, because last couple of weeks I was hearing from Vizag, they have a huge sort of infections with regard to the workers there. So it's good to hear that in Vijayanagar it is not the same. But let's hope that we, at least even if the third wave comes, we are well prepared to face the third.
Yes, sure.
We are very well prepared to see that does not happen. So with that, I think we are almost on time. Yeah, 3:30 by my watch. Ankit, you can
yeah, we can start
with the introduction. Chaudhary sir, with your permission, we are starting. Subrata, with your permission, let us start.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
Yes. Please, we can start. Yes.
Yeah. Sharma ji, we are starting right now.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to all our panelists and the attendees who have joined us today, and to everyone watching on our live stream on our website as well as on YouTube. We welcome you all to our 26th webinar, which is titled Outlook for Technology and Demand for Flat Products During and Beyond the Second Wave of Pandemic, organized by Steel and Metallurgy. I would like to welcome our silver sponsors, JSW Steel and Danieli, our steel sponsor, Maxis Motion, and to the chairman of our organizing committee, Mr. Subhrata Mitra, Extra and Managing Director, M.N. Dastur & Co. I would now like to introduce our panelists for today's webinar. So our first panelist for today is the chairman of our organizing committee and Extra and Managing Director of M.N. Dastur & Co., Mr. Subhrata Mitra. Then we have Mr. Anil Kumar Chaudhary, who is the ex-chairman of Steel Authority of India Limited. Mr. Vijay Sharma, Director, Marketing, Business Development and Corporate Affairs, Jindal Stainless. Mr. Massimo Buto, Manager, Proposal, DW Sales Team, Danieli and C. Officin Mechanish SPA. Mr. R.V. Sridhar, Executive Director and CEO, Coated Steel, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. Mr. Sanjay Sharma, Senior Vice President, Mills, JSW Steel Limited. Mr. Ranjan Dhar, Chief Marketing Officer, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India.
Ranjan Dhar will not be able to join here, send a message.
Okay. And we have Mr. Arpan Chakraborty. He's the Senior Manager, Flow Control Digital Services, Vesuvius India Limited. So thank you all for joining us today. Now, before we proceed, there are just a few short guidelines that I would like to share for smooth platform management. For the attendees who have joined us on Zoom to listen to our discussion, we have a Q&A section which can be accessed by all panelists and attendees. I would request everyone to post your questions and queries either in the Q&A or in the chat, and it will be visible to all the panelists who can then choose to answer it live or directly in the chat. I would also request all the panelists to keep their microphones muted when the other panelists are speaking to avoid any kind of noise feedback. And last but not the least, I would request all panelists to adhere to the time limit as given in the program to avoid any delays in the schedule. Our session moderator for today's discussion will be my father, Mr. Nirmalya Mukherjee, who is the editor of Steel and Metallurgy. And I would now request the chairman of our organizing committee, Mr. Subhrata Mitra, to deliver his welcome address and take the session forward. Over to you, Subhrata Uncle.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you, Nirmalya. Good morning to panelists from Europe and good afternoon for panelists from India. It gives us immense pleasure once again to assemble virtually and discuss about steel, basically on steel subjects. And this is one of the relentless efforts of Steel and Metallurgy to assemble practically every month and to discuss about the various aspects related to the steel industry. Today's topic, demand and technology for flat products during and beyond the pandemic, is a very relevant issue. So in this regard, the best thing will be, first, if we talk about the demand, as is known, in the initial days of pandemic 1, things became so immediate that the market really fell in India and the production suffered. But slowly it picked up. Some of the companies, most of the major steel companies, they fought back. And the forecast is 2021, there will be a very good growth, very appreciable growth in the steel business in India. China is already quite hyped in the steel industry. Prices have gone up very high, mostly because of the iron ore prices. The input cost has gone up, so the steel price in HRC and everywhere has gone up tremendously high. And slowly it has to come down to a balanced level, we hope. But the market seems to be good, and in this pandemic, the really creditable, in spite of various problems, working operators are not there, but the various companies like Jindals, Mittal's, Tata's, they have done really well. Not Mittal, of course, in India, but they have done really well, and they're taking up the challenge to the core. Now, as regards technology, this already the technology is for the steel is known. More of advanced high-strength steel is being the main focus. AHSS with high MPa values. Even China has crossed 2000 megapascal, where Indians are a little behind. But the motto is strong steel, less steel. Strong steel, less steel for weight reduction in automobiles and other white goods sectors. That's one of the main focus. Then colored steel, including colored stainless steel. Then the CR products. These, as the country progresses, the technology also is coming up. The plate mill technology, plate requirement is also supposed to go up, which will go into shipbuilding. So near net ship casting is there. So we'd like to hear from the eminent panelists what they think about the future market and the future flat products, which is now India is practically having 50% flat and 50% long, which is a real good balance for a developing plus developed country. So with this, I want to end and hand over the session to the eminent panelists. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Subrata. Thanks for brief outline of what the situation is like, particularly with regard to the flat product segment. And as you rightly mentioned, that the price is one concern which many of the customers have been complaining about. But as we all know, there is no cartelization in the steel industry. The steel industry is perhaps one of the most fragmented industries that we have. So there is no question of any cartelization. The market factors and the super cycle are the ones which have brought the price to the level it is today. But it is expected that there will be some rationalization in the days to come. And with that, I'll move on to our first speaker, whom I have immense respect and a lot of regard for, Mr. Anil Kumar Chaudhary, ex-chairman SAIL. And he is, as I keep saying, he is one of the best chairmen SAIL has ever produced. So with that, I will hand over the floor to Shri Anil Kumar Chaudhary. Chaudhary sir, the floor is yours. You are muted, Chaudhary sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukherjee, Mr. Nirmala Mukherjee and Mr. Ankit Mukherjee. And thanks to Steel and Metallurgy also for including me as one of the panelists. And very good afternoon to all of you, including the panelists who are present here. I find that we have a very eminent list of panelists available today. Those who are, I would say, the masters in the flat steel segment. Now, today the question comes why we are discussing flat steel segment, why we are not discussing long steel segment. The reason is simple. The performance which has been delivered by the flat products in the current scenario, that has, at least I have never seen in the last 37 years of my service with SAIL, or even otherwise also. This is for the first time we have been seeing that the flat products have been delivering such a performance. That is a net margin. I'm not talking of EBITDA, a net margin of 130%, which is unheard of in the steel industry, a industry which has been delivering on an average EBITDA margin of 25 to 30%. Of course, last quarter, some of the companies had as high as 43.5%, whereas normally it has been delivering a EBITDA margin of 25 to 30%. The flat products, I'm talking of HRC only. If I include plates, if I include CRC and further value-added products in this, the segment has delivered a EBITDA or rather net margin, which is unheard of. Like today, if we take the average cost of flat products at somewhere around 130%, 30,000 rupees per ton, and the price which HRC is fetching in the market is somewhere around 70,000 rupees per ton, or CRC which is available in the market, which is somewhere around 81,000 rupees per ton. So you can very well gauge that the where the prices of the flat products are, and that is one reason that we are discussing about the flat products. And other very important thing is that gap between flat products and long products, which is prevailing right now. This is again something unimaginable. I have seen in the past that there has been a gap that the flat products have been commanding a higher price of somewhere around maybe $50 to $60 per ton, or in rupee terms when we see 3,000 to anything up to 5,000 rupees per ton. But today, if we see the gap which is prevailing in the market is something around 20,000 rupees per ton. Again, that is something unheard of. And also, we find that most of the flat products, irrespective whether they are coming from the secondary rolling mills or they are coming from the main producers, that I'm trying to emphasize that irrespective of the quality, they continue to fetch a very good price. And other feature, the very notable feature, which I'm sure my panelists and the participants must have noticed, that today it is not like that everything is driven by the raw material prices. It is definitely not driven by the raw material prices. In that case, the prices of the long products would have also been on the higher side. But we find that prices of the flat steel, that is I would say untowardly on the high side when compared with the flat. So definitely it is not driven by the cost, particularly the cost of raw material or the cost of coal, which is prevailing, which are the major inputs for making steel. So that is the reason we are discussing that whether we will be able to survive this kind of scenario in the coming time, or how long we will be able to continue with this, and how much time will it take to cool down the prices for the flat products. When we look at the production of most of the steel companies except SAIL, it is skewed towards, flat products. Like most of the companies, whether it is JSW, Tata Steel, ArcelorMittal, they are having some proportion of 70-30, 70 towards flat and 30 towards the long product, whereas SAIL is having a proportion of 50-50, which is evenly spread. The only time when we saw long prices going up, that was sometime in 2008-9 when the construction activity was at the boom, and we saw that the long prices were commanding a higher price. And at that time, the SAIL was the beneficiary. But today, if we see when the most of the companies are having production which is skewed towards the flat products, so they are getting the benefit of this situation in the market today. Now, cost of production, as I said, that it continues to be the same for the flat products and the long products. Now, this forces us to ponder upon that why the long prices are low and why the flat prices are high. We all know that the flat steel is an international commodity. The prices of the flat steel, they are majorly linked with the prices which are prevailing worldwide. And we have seen that how exactly the prices went up for flat products by the mid of July, mid of May. Then they started cooling down. Then suddenly, when on 26th of May, the Chinese government said that the prices appear to be on the right side. Again, from the very next day, 27th May onwards, the prices started going up. So earlier, I found that it used to take some time to get the international prices reflected in the domestic prices. But today, that transition is very, very small. The period within which the long price, prices, international prices are getting reflected in the domestic market, that has come down to as low as 3 to 5 days. Like whatever is happening in the international market, at whatever prices the flat products are getting traded, that is getting reflected in the domestic prices with a gap of 3 to 5 days. So that is basically affecting the prices of the domestic in the domestic market. Now the cost continues to be low. And another reason for increase in the flat prices is that most of the major producers, they have booked their flat quantities for export. I find that many of the producers have booked as high as 40% of their production. Now in case of sale, it is ranging from 15% to 20%. Many of the other producers, they have booked their production of 40 to 40% onwards for exports. And in the first 15 days that the products are simply not available in the market, they are all busy in fulfilling the requirement for the purpose of export. So sort of artificial scarcity has also been created in the market. Now, as Mr. Nirmala rightly mentioned, that there is no cartel. But the circumstances are like that, the prices are getting on the higher side and the availability is becoming a scarcity. I have seen many of the end consumers, not to talk of traders, that they have been running around for material and they are not able to get the material which they have booked under MOU. And also, we have found it, which happens very rarely, that today, if we look at the prices, the export prices are higher somewhat by 3,000 to 5,000 rupees per ton as compared to domestic prices. And likewise, when we look at the landed cost of imports, the difference is as high as 7,000 to 8,000 rupees than the domestic prices. Again, this is something rare. So we find that all these factors have collectively contributed to the rise in the prices of the flat products as compared to the long products. And of course, during the lockdown period, we started sometime from the mid of April, the demand for long products has also come down substantially. So that is another reason that many of the major producers, they have not been able to push up the prices for the long products. Now, if we have a look at the consumption pattern of the flat products, it was low in the month of February, as it happens mostly that, and March becomes the peak month. And the March we found that the consumption went up from 3.69 million ton, I'm talking of finished steel, to 4.20 million ton in the month of March 21. Then it came down to 3.85 million ton in April 21, and further came down to 3.70 million ton in the month of May 21. Likewise, the imports, they almost remain static. Somewhere at February, it was 0.39 million ton. Then March, it was 0.43 million ton. April, 0.33 million ton. And May figures are now available. Again, it remained at the same level. But if we look at the exports, they have gone up exponentially. In February, India exported flat products of just 0.54 million ton, means 540,000 ton, which in March went up to 1 million ton. So almost 100% increase we saw in the export of the flat products. In April, it was slightly lower at 750,000 tons, 750,000 tons. But in May, suddenly it crossed 1 million ton. May exports from India have been 1.03 million ton. So this shows that the prices which have gone up, because most of the major producers, they started exporting more and more material. They booked these orders sometime in the month of February, March in future because the prices were good. So that is main reason why the prices have been going up. I'm talking within the country. Of course, if we look at that, why prices are going up globally, that is driven by, again, demand by China. And we find that the domestic consumption has been low. One factor which is responsible for this is the low availability. And the material is not available because of the lower production. The production also came down of the major producers in the month of April and May. Like if we look at SAIL produced something around 1.65 million ton in the month of March, which came down to 1.23 million ton and further to 1.13 million ton in the month of May. Likewise, except JSW, most of the producers, they were forced to cut down the production because of one reason or the other. In May, JSW performed well over April, but others, they were forced to bring down their production because of variety of reasons. maybe to some extent non-availability of oxygen. Then, of course, the capital shutdown and the other factors were responsible for this. And the fabrication industry suffered. And also those who are in the special steel segment, they also suffered because they could not get the supplies of oxygen and they had to cut down their production during this period. And trading was also not happening, and the traders also, they shut down their establishment. So again, the trading volume came down in the market. And also we know that there was very slow progress in the auto segment during the lockdown period, and also due to non-availability of the chips. So that was another reason that the supply of the flat products was not there in the domestic market. And also there was a lot of lower production by the downstream industries within the country due to the lower demand consequent to lockdown and also the input prices. Now the question comes, and which is the major point or good point for this webinar to be discussed, that what is going to be the future of the flat products immediately after the second wave of COVID. So let us see that how long these prices are going to prevail in the market, and how long the major producers will be allowed to make such an exorbitant margin, which is definitely not driven by cost, which is driven by other factors. So if we see today, the demand for flat products would continue to be there. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But the prices are likely to come down as per my estimate in the coming days. And there are quite a few reasons for that. If we see that, as I mentioned earlier, that the gap between the flat segment and the long segment is huge. So this has to be raised up at some point of time. Today, TMT bar, the wholesale price or the project price is somewhere around 49,000, this is 69,500 to 70,000 for flat products. The 21,000 cannot remain like this. So it has to come down. And also the capacity utilization is likely to go up in USA and Europe. Today, the capacity utilization is very low. Now, considering the fact that the prices of HR coil has gone up to a level of $1,400 plus, they have all been working on how to bring down the prices, and for that the increase in the production is must. Today this gap is being met by the countries like Japan, Korea, and CIS countries, and also Turkey. They have been exporting left and right to US and Europe because there are no restrictions on them, and moreover the prices are good. Now once the production go up in US and also in Europe, then this material will start flowing to the Asian countries, other Asian countries, as it was happening earlier. So again, this will improve the availability, and definitely if they improve this availability improves, the prices will come down. Again, the iron ore prices, they have touched a peak level of 220. I don't feel that the iron ore prices will continue to remain at these levels. Already for September futures, the Chinese have started booking the orders at $170 per ton. So definitely, if the iron ore prices come down, because it constitutes the major cost, even it is constituting higher cost than coal for the main producers, integrated steel producer. So if the iron ore prices come down, definitely the prices will come down. And also the current prices are quite exorbitant for the end user segment like automobiles, white goods, pipes and tubes. Many of them have already started representing to the government. The other day, the Tube and Pipes Manufacturer Association of Gujarat, they have represented to the Chief Secretary, State Government of Gujarat, to look into this price increase by the main producers, and it should be arrested if they want the survival of the pipe and tube industries. The petition is already being looked into. And also the government is very, very sensitive towards the rising prices. There were proposals to bring down the custom duty on imports, and also there was a proposal to impose the export duty on export of steel goods. Definitely it has not seen the light of the day, but it is going on. But if the current situation continues, I find that the next price increase will be very, very difficult for the main producers. Because this is not being absorbed by the end consumers, and somehow, somewhere, the MSME units, the converters, and also the end consumers or of steel, they have started suffering like anything. And also we know, as we just now, Mr. Mukherjee was talking to Mr. Sanjay Sharma, that the additional capacity would start coming in. SAIL 3 million ton HR mill, it is almost ready. So it is suffering because the experts are not available. Again, the experts are available at site. Dolvi 5 million ton expansion would be in place. Kalinganagar 5 million ton expansion, that would also be in place. And very soon the CR mill of Kalinganagar, that cold facility of 3 million ton, that would also be available. So that would add to the availability of material. And I feel that the prices may not sustain the current level because of the reasons which I have mentioned. Now the demand will continue to be strong. But of course, if in the coming time, if we see the medium-term outlook for the flat products, then definitely the industry has to adopt the new technologies which are going to come in the market. Already there are a lot of inventions or innovations in the hot stream mill rolling, and some of the players, they have already adopted this also. Like we already know that the strip casting and rolling, it has already been adopted by this JSW Dolvi. They have adopted it. It will be coming up at Kalinganagar also. And this Nagarnar iron and steel plant, they are going to have it. So this will be helpful in making thinner gauges through HR rolling. And also this will help us in reducing the energy consumption by 30%. And one other major innovation which I saw in one of the steel plants very recently, that is the endless hot strip rolling, which is going to be the order of the day, which is going to help us in reducing the overall processing cost by 30%. So, and also the energy consumption would come down somewhere around 30%, and also the yield will go up to 97%. Currently, the yield, which is in the range of 92 to 93%, it will go up to 97%. Likewise, we find that in the plate making and also in CRM rolling, a lot of innovations have been happening, which the industry has to adopt if the cost has to cut down and if the margins have to be maintained at the current level. Like I was talking with my colleagues in SAIL, and I found that they are also working on many things, many new technological innovations to bring down the cost of production or to improve the productivity. Just to mention one or two, like in plates, this multi-purpose interrupted cooling technology for plates that is being introduced, and the intermediate water cooling of plates that is also being implemented in one of the plants. This will not only help the this mechanical properties, but also reduce the usage of the alloys, which we have been using for the purpose of plate making. Likewise, in CRM rolling, one I would say the revolution which is going to be there, that is the acidless pickling. I believe so far it has not been adopted within the country, but this is going to be the order of the day just to take care of the environment. So this acidless pickling, this I have seen the demo in one of the video films which I got from one of the major equipment supplier. It gives the excellent view, and also you find that you can work without any fumes in the atmosphere or without any smell in the atmosphere. And now, not to talk of general innovations which are going to be there in the field of rolling, like Industry 4, IoT, artificial intelligence. This we discussed very elaborately for the mining sector under the aegis of the PhD Chamber of Commerce, where I've been the chairman. So we started this. And now we are going to discuss that how Industry 4, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence is going to help in improving the productivity in the steel sector, particularly in the rolling mills. So flat and this long we have been talking about, and maybe in the coming time, it will be becoming reality. And this will help us in reducing the cost of production by somewhere around 2,000 to 2,500 rupees per ton. Of course, Tata Steel had been the pioneer in this, followed by JSW. Along with technology, I find that in the coming time, there will be requirement for the very high grade or specialty grade flat steel. We all know that we have been working on this advanced high strength steel for auto sector. And as we call it, it is the third generation steel, third generation advanced high strength steel. which can give us the high strength of very high megapascal. And also for this line pipe steel, we need flat steel for making pipes of X82, X100, X120, which are currently not being manufactured. Some of them are currently not being manufactured in the country. So it is going to be there. And then electrical steel, JSW has taken a very, I would say, right stand to go ahead with the CRGO with the help of JFE. They have already started working on this. And I believe this Nikon, SAIL, and Medhani, they have also been working that how to go ahead and have some CRGO steel and also the high grades of the CRNO steel, which are currently not being produced in the country. Likewise, coated products, they are going to be highly in demand, particularly the high value added galvanized and also the galvanized and the color coated. They are very popular, but galvanized sheets, they are going to command a premium in the market in the coming time. And last but not the least, today, the steel which is required for the defense sector to really make this country Atmanirbhar, that is going to throw a big challenge for all the flat steel producers. DMR plates, and also we find that this flat sheets for some specific defense purposes, they are required in the country, and they are going to throw a big market in the coming time. And also, along with this, a lot of steel, special steel would be required for the food, beverage, and the packing sector. And particularly the tin plate, not second grade as they are being imported in the country, but the good quality tin plates, that is going to be the requirement in the coming time. So we have, as I said that in the beginning, we have a very eminent panel. So we will listen from them that how exactly we can work together to meet the requirement of the country. And at the same time, we have participations from the OEMs also. They will also be able to tell us that how exactly that we can work together to give the advanced flat steel in this country by adopting the latest technology, and how we can work together to keep the steel prices under control. How we can improve the productivity, further reduce the cost of production, and also to see to it that the quality steel is made available to the domestic consumers at a reasonable price, not at a price which is only driven by the international prices, but by a price which is driven by the cost, which is driven by the technology, and which is advanced for meeting the requirement of this growing country. So thank you very much. I will be very happy to listen from all the eminent panelists. I'm sure they have a lot of views about this flat steel segment, which is going to grow in the time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaudhary Sahab. Thank you once again. And once again, you proved that you are, even after superannuation, you are not working for home, but you are working from home. I mean, with your collating of data for the month of April and May, I could well understand you're following the market and the trends very closely, even though, you don't need to do that on a day-to-day basis as far as, your day-to-day functioning is concerned. And I think Mr. Vijay Sharma would equally agree with me, because I am an ardent fan of Anil Kumar Chaudhary just as much as you are, because I could make that out from the days Chaudhary Sahab, when during his tenureship as chairman, the kind of appreciation you had for him, I can well understand. You are as much a part of Anil Chaudhary fan club as much as I am. So with that, before we move on to you, Sharma Sahab, may I request Ankit to just play the sponsors videos, and then we will have an update on what the scenario in the stainless steel segment is, and as far as the flat product segment in stainless steel is concerned, what are the recent trends which we are noticing. So before that, Ankit, please play the sponsors videos.
Yeah, so we have 3 sponsor videos today. Actually 4. We have one from JSW Steel, 2 from Danieli, and then 1 from Maxis Motion. So I will play it in the sequence, first starting with JSW, followed by Danieli, and then Maxis Motion. So the corporate video for JSW Steel first. Visible?
Yeah, play.
India, a nation powered by 1 billion dreams. Dreams that we aspire to fulfill every day. Together with our collaboration and commitment, as India embraces to be a $5 trillion economy by 2025, we are all geared up to be a part of this monumental journey to usher in a brighter, better future. Together, we touch ordinary lives and make that difference. We better every day. Together, we make steel that you carve into your agri-equipment. Together, we sow the seeds of success. We make steel that gives the grit and grind to your heavy equipment. Together, we change the landscape of our country. We make steel that you beautifully mold into your automobiles, just to drive our nation on its path towards prosperity. We make steel that you transform into solar energy. Together, we steer our nation towards a greener tomorrow. We make steel that relays your transmission lines, just to brighten the future of millions. We make steel that styles your appliances. Together, we bring happy smiles. We make steel that adorns your development projects. Together, we provide shelter to millions. We touch lives, make them better together, every day. We empower communities, make them better together, every day. We nurture dreams, make them better together, every day. As India embarks on its accelerated growth journey, we are firmly placed to leave our mark in it. Together, we touch millions of lives and make them better every day.
Okay, now we can move on to Danelli and then Mexico. This was anyway, kudos to Sajanji and team JSW for the excellent work JSW has done during this period of pandemic with the supply of oxygen as well as the 1,000-bed hospital which they built up. Our salute to Sajanji.
So Danelli has sent 2 presentations with the video, and one is from Danelli India and the other from the Danelli headquarters in Italy. So
okay, so you play back to back.
Yeah. So yeah, the first one from Danelli India.
Yes, this is an excellent workshop which I was fortunate to visit twice. This is 100 odd kilometers from Chennai. And this is I would say I have seen their headquarters workshop in Butrio in Italy as well as this workshop. and I've seen their workshop in Thailand as well. So I would say this is at par with the international standards. Let's move on to Daneli headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then finally we have the video from Maxis Motion.
Okay. Thank you, Ankit. And thanks to all our sponsors for their support, JSW Steel, Daneli, and Maxis Motion. So with that, we'll move on to the stainless steel segment. And who else can cover it better than Mr. Vijay Sharma, who will give us an update on. Hi, Sridhar, how are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon.
Yeah, so let's welcome Mr. Sridhar, who's Executive Director and CEO of JSW Coated Steel, based out of Pune.
ArcelorMittal.
I'm sorry. ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel, the coated products unit in Pune. And before we get an outlook on the coated products, let's see what the stainless steel segment has for our nation. Over to you, Sharma sir.
Namaskar to my learned panelists, audiences, and the organizers. Thanks, Steel and Metallurgy, for yet another learning and sharing opportunity to me. If Chaudhary Saab is listening, Chaudhary Saab, you make the life a little difficult for the subsequent speakers. Fortunately, I don't have to speak about steel. I'll be speaking about stainless steel. Okay, I will be sharing my learnings basically on demand side of that portion of the theme. Uh, Complex environment, multiple influencers, interconnected, interdependent. Let me try to attempt to create the big picture by connecting the dots, primarily focusing on the sub themes of pandemic impacted economy, outlook, commodities prices impact, and this is a stainless steel perspective, sustainability issues, industry strengths and challenges which impact the demand also, and of course the global perspective and the opportunities available for the stainless steel domestic producers. As usual, I have to start with positioning stainless steel with respect to steel. That is always my standard beginning. 3% by value, by volume, 12 to 15% by value. Some similarities also, more or less. By the way, I will be speaking certain numbers. Those are directional. So please don't catch me in the decimals. So it is on the spirit and the trends and the directions. So about 1/3 per capita consumption steel as well as stainless steel of India as compared to the world. Both about 6% of the respective global consumptions. But then there are certain differences. Product form, if we talk about in case of steel, if I don't talk about the alloy steel, flat product, long product, 47%, 43%, quite similar. But in case of stainless steel, 80% flat, 20% long. So that means it speaks about the different usage also. And that is reflected if I divide the total applications into the 4 key sets of the applications. Infra and construction, total steel is 62, whereas stainless is only 12. And ART more or less similar. The point here is that because of the corrosion resistance, because of the different value, the application part also, stainless steel is quite different to the steel. If we talk about the key raw materials, uh, iron ore is not used in the stainless steel. I have a reason to speak about it. So dynamics are also quite different. And of course, in stainless steel, when we talk about the demand, there are certain emerging new applications like medical healthcare. And of course, the segments, the traditional segments, they are behaving a little different. Like we talked about auto. Unfortunately, May registrations in the country were 70% less as compared to May 2019. So it's a matter of uncertainty. These metals being commodities, they move along with the GDP. So it is very important to understand the overall global GDP outlook as well as the Indian GDP outlook, the macroeconomic parameters, different countries, different economies, different phases of COVID, and in fact the different waves also. V shape, in fact, sometimes even the K shape also. World degrew. I'm talking about some calendar year numbers because when we compare with the world, normally people use the calendar year. World degrew by minus 3.3% last year. Good hope of 6% plus this year. India degrew by about 8%, and we are very upbeat, maybe around 10%, though these numbers are prior to the wave 2. And China, the only country in the world in 2020 which was positive, everybody else was negative. And they are also going to grow perhaps a little less than India, but yes, a healthy 8%. Well, the growth seems to be very good for this year and also for the next year, but there are certain globally very conflicting messaging happening. In 2018, the globalization started shifting towards nationalization. If you talk about the China, on one side known to provide 20 to 30% subsidies in stainless steel, another side 1st May rebate withdrawn. Now the export duties are being heard. If we talk about EU, on one side trade remedies focus, another side quota liberalization. If I talk about USA, talking about the section 232 withdrawn, but parallelly 301 for on digital services. So there is a such situation which is creating further uncertainties. But I personally feel that there are good growth drivers and good strong base with the hope that there is no wave 3 or wave 3 under control because of we are already out of wave 2 practically, and very, very strong vaccination regime. And I also hope people like us, we are serious about the social distancing. Along with that, the pent up demand, growth in private investments, and of course the physical spending on building assets and infra. This is very critical for a country like India Economy may be fifth in the world. Population second. Unfortunately, GDP per capita 142nd, which is just equal to $2,000 or so. 1.5 lakh रुपया साल से कम हमारी average GDP per capita. That speaks about the poverty line and our strength to purchase. So the government infra spending is very, very critical. And of course, the global economy rebound being led by USA. So these things are definitely will be boosting the GDP, whether it is the Indian GDP or it is the global GDP. In case of stainless steel, there are mixed response because the structure is also mixed, right from the corporate and public and private to the MSMEs. So some areas it perhaps is K-shape recovery also. If I talk about the stainless steel, the numbers, worldwide, it degrew by 2.5% in the calendar year 2020. In India, it was much worse hit. It was minus 19%, but fortunately there was Q4 recovery. So in the FY, the degrowth will not be that much, maybe around 8 to 10%. But China was plus 2.5%. And this year, the outlook looks to be very good. Worldwide, it looks to be around 8%, China around 5%. And in India, there are two numbers which are being calculated, a pessimistic number of 12 to 15%, and there is also a possibility of even up to 20%. So it all depends about on the next wave, how the MSME sector rebounds, and in fact also about the level playing. This Q1 going on despite of having the lockdowns. Fortunately, this Q1 is in fact more or less similar to the last year Q2 and even much better than the overall average of last year, and even better average than the average of the 1920. So the situation seems to be better. We talk a lot about the commodity. Sometimes we start about the, having the guilt also. Well, these super cycles, they are, this is not the first time. And of course, it is not very frequent also. But I understand that in the last 100 years, there have been 5 such super cycles worldwide. And when they come, they last for a while. World Bank outlook, if we talk about that, the bull run is likely to continue for a while. And when we talk about the bull run, I'm not talking about only steel, only stainless steel. I'm also talking about the metal. I'm also talking about the energy, gas, even the commodities like tea and grain. So the business cycle is like this. Steel prices have gone up. Stainless steel prices have gone up. It's an open economy. At least in stainless steel, international benchmarking happens immediately, thanks to China. China changed the price in the morning. Same day, same morning, the expectations change in the country. I would like to give you certain numbers. The raw material for stainless steel, more than 70% of the total price is raw material. It is inadequate or not available in the country. If I take the starting point of July 2020, because post that the commodity prices started going up, and compare it with the 1st of June prices, the key raw materials, and these are the references from the MEPS and the LME and the Steel Mint and all. Carbon steel scrap 80% up, stainless steel scrap 51% up, nickel 45% up, copper 58% up, ferrochrome 43% up. And if I talk about the benchmark international prices of the 304 CR, EU 66% up, China, USA 37% up, India 35% up. So, and we know about the steel. So this is, then we also talked about the profits and the profitability as well as the profiteering. I will be talking about the structure. I will be talking about the numbers related with this also. My only humble request to everybody in the ecosystem of the supply chain, including the downstream, is this run is positively impacting the demand also, though the negative sentiments get attached to it, especially from the downstream, but it is part of the business, and in the due course of time, it will get stabilized. So we have seen that the GDP is going to be good, the demand seems to be good, and it is also related with the next growth cycle of nation, because parallel to this pandemic effect, government has also certain vision. It also has got themes. Economic growth is a priority, competitiveness is a priority, safety and healthiness of the nation is a priority, Atmanirbhar is a priority. We need long-term fixes and the sustainable solutions to achieve this vision of the nation. So metal is essential. Which metal? Each has its own place. But LCC becomes very, very critical for choosing the right metal, because perhaps we are looking for certain solutions which should last much more than 100 years. To me, stainless steel is one of the best fit material, specifically for the corrosion. to get sensitized by the number. We say that there is empirical evidence and the studies around 4 to 5% of the GDP gets eroded by the corrosion every year. This simple 4 to 5% at the world level, it is one Germany getting eroded every year. At USA level, it is two Walmarts, and at India level, at a rough number of 150 billion, we can compare it with any of our companies. Stainless steel has got the application specific solutions. And if I talk about the sustainable solutions, the three legs, social, environmental, and economic, it suits the best. Social, people, safety, impact, crash, fire, inert, aesthetics. Environmental, low carbon footprints, low maintenance, reusable, withstanding better in calamity, and economic, low LCC, high resale value, and all those things. So the opportunities are there, a big yes to it, and it is well supported by the strength of the domestic industry, adequate capacity. In fact, this capacity is utilized only 60%, thanks to our neighbor countries. Supplies to all segments, including the nuclear applications. Very proud to share that one of the very prestigious topic, ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor being made in France, participated by 35 countries, actively participated by 7 countries. One reactor using 3,800 tons of stainless steel. Only 2 companies in the world have provided it. One is our company made in India. So it's a matter of pride about the quality. 120 plus grades, all series, 80 grades developed in last 2 decades, talks a lot about Indian R&D. Exports worthy quality right up to the Germany, it talks about the quality acceptance, and of course the BIS and other international standards. Stainless steel industry has a strength. It is practically it is Atmanirbhar, and the industry is committed. And during the situation like pandemic, this industry supports even in the health situation. All of us know the steel industry was pioneer in this crisis time, and Jindal Stainless also did their bit by having a dedicated hospital and a traditional hospital. Strengths are there, but there are challenges also naturally. I would like to start with thanking the government in supporting the industry, whether it was RCEP, NSP, SIMS, scrap policy, logistics policy, NIP standards, and also industry is doing the hand holding with the government in certain initiatives which are a must to further spur the demand. Low awareness, campaigns, ecosystems, fabrication skills, skill development. We have started a stainless steel course through our concept called Stainless Academy in 11 architect and engineering colleges, including IITs. We have hand-holding with Skill India NSGC for the training of the people. Stainless steel has a challenge of initial high investment, so we are working with the government on LCC, standards upgradation, BIS. We are trying to make SS mandatory for the health and safety areas. Domestic value addition has always been a confusion for the domestic industry. We propose melt and manufacture for the public procurement. Non-tariff barriers, India's borders are quite porous. Non-tariff barriers like QCO, HS codes, they need to be improvised. We are working with the government. And exports competitiveness, we hope that very quickly reasonable RODTEP will be introduced. So challenges also are manageable, and to me, I strongly believe that these can add to the opportunities. However, India stainless steel domestic industry is a little perplexed because there is an issue of India as a country, the competitiveness, whether the cost of logistics or the cost of capital. These two elements make the Indian product, and I'm not talking about the steel or the stainless steel. Every product in India makes it uncompetitive at 10 to 12% when we have to compete against our global competitors. So these opportunities which are going to be there, are they really available to us? A little bit on the global perspective, because Indian demand cannot be considered in isolation. World has been VUCA traditionally. Post 2018, for the stainless steel industry, it became super VUCA thanks to the Trump administration imposing a 232, and after that, worldwide, it started raining every country, imposing trade remedial initiatives on the other countries, and primarily because of the surplus capacities in China, subsequently in Indonesia, Chinese companies, Chinese investment, creating the capacities in the Indonesia to the extent that 5.5 million tons capacity in a country where the demand is just 0.2 million, 25 times excess capacity, and the government's known to provide subsidies of 20 to 30% on China, Indonesia, and China. not only steel and stainless steel, whether the tires, crackers, electricals, even Ganeshji is also imported from China now. And worldwide, what all ADD and CVD initiatives have been created, China figures in more than 70%, and Indonesia, the newcomer of 2 to 3 years, figures in more than 50%, and both these countries have imposed on each other also. We talk about profiteering, a little bit about the structure of the Indian stainless steel industry. 50 lakh tons capacity, less than 60% utilization. Public sector, private sector, MSME, mid-size, big size. One third in MSME, most worst hit by COVID and fragmented. Stainless steel financials have been traditionally under stress. We took 10 years to get out of CDR, one company in NCLT, another in BFR, one company in disinvestment, and few smaller ones have wound up. India has been a soft target for imports. Pre-COVID, import intensity was 24%, 3 times that of the steel. And I have also said that India is actually Atmanirbhar in case of stainless steel. Profitability was improving in Q3 and Q4, good recovery, good sentiments, post wave 1, but SS primary producers got baffled right in the midst of the recovery. While a big appreciation for the union budget, specific, thankful for the scrap duty of 2.5% to be made zero till March 22. However, industry could not understand the reason of the suspension or revocation of CVD on the countries like China and Indonesia. Industry prays to reconsider these decisions, and also industry humbly requests to remember why this level playing field was created and to visualize what will happen if it is not there. Investments and employments are at stake. Profits will be load back, and when I talk about the profits, whatever we are talking in case of stainless steel, the best Q3 and Q4, the EBITDA was just 13% for a company of like Jindal Stainless, and this EBITDA was best among everybody else in the country. And most of others, we are out of CDR. Status of others have not changed yet. But yes, things are improving. My friend down south public sector, they showed positive EBITDA in Q3. But then this thing happened. Investments and employment is at stake. My resounding yes to the opportunities for stainless steel, flat products, how much it is for the Indian manufacturers. Indian manufacturers are committed. I think Make in India and Atmanirbhar, it should be lived in spirit and word. So Jai Hind, once again we are committed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarma Sahab. Thank you once again. Well, as I mentioned, who else to cover the gamut of subjects other than Mr. Vijay Sharma? And he has, very meticulously explained where things have gone wrong and where the industry is committed to get back. Only thing I feel a little sad about is, the way stainless steel industry has, contributed from being a primarily kitchen segment, I would say, contributor to having turned it around. And now, Sharma Sahab, kitchen segment is only 25%, right?
No, it is a little more than that because India, you see, unless there is a improvement in the process segment in India, that can only happen through the majority by the government spending. The NIP would give a big thrust for change in this shift. So till that time, it is a low-end application. So it's quite complex, but I'm very hopeful this NIP and other things will give a big boost to Indian stainless steel industry in very, very short term also.
Sir, I have a feeling that during this pandemic that we are going through, there is a huge scope of promoting, the oxygen cylinders as SS cylinders. Could that be possible? Because the stainless steel cylinders would be much lighter in weight, and it would be more convenient to carry and less of contamination. The chance for contamination would be far, far less. And also the tubing application and the piping application for oxygen cylinders and others. Do you think good possibility be there where we could really focus on to improve the consumption in the medical equipment segment?
This is one of the developmental areas where the industry is working upon.
Right, sir.
Sharma uncle, since you spoke about the commodity super cycle, I just have a question. So lately there have been rising concerns about the growing inflation rate, especially in the United States. So how do you think that would affect the global economy or specifically in India?
No, I personally feel that you see, US economy is going to bounce back faster. I'm not talking about the China as compared to other economies, and trend is being shown. And also the reasonable steps to control the inflation. I personally feel that these are something which the government always take the decision maybe little late or something. So I would not be that much worried at the moment, because to me the connecting of the other complex dots at the moment seems to be more important, and getting out of the pandemic, and these are the more priority areas. So because, that is my view. So that is not a really, that's why I didn't talk about the inflation.
Mm-hmm. And could it be that the inflation is actually signaling a faster recovery?
You see, inflation is related to demand and supply. Despite of the various levels of the value addition in the commodity market, we are at the end of the day, it is a commodity and the price elastic. So more the demand, whether it is pent up or it is to fulfill the supply chain, more the demand, the price gets pulled up because of that also. That becomes the indicator and having a relation with the inflation also. So I think that once the things get stabilized, the capacity, and then there is also one thing like in US, ATI was shut down because of the labor. I think for, I don't know whether it has opened or not, for 1 month. Even the Taiwan also, there was a big fire in A United, and people have been recovering in producing more. Even in India, the MSME sector, they have not fully recovered. In the sense the production has not started. They are labor intensive, because when I use the word K type recovery, it within the stainless steel, there is could be, because you see the conflict between lives versus livelihood. Wave one was life over livelihood, wave two was lives with livelihood, and then capital versus labor intensive, corporate versus MSME, product versus services. So it's quite complex. So we have come out of this wave two. It's a great signal. Vaccination drive will make us more robust. I only hope that we remain disciplined.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarma sir. Thank you so much. And what we must compliment the stainless steel segment is the association in stainless steel, which is ISDA, Indian Stainless Steel Development Association. I would really congratulate Pahuja ji and Sarma sir, both of them, for bringing up the association in achieving the objectives. You know, unfortunately, in the carbon steel segment, we have an association called Indian Steel Association, which primarily does the job of government liaison and government lobbying, rather than promoting the consumption of steel as such. So I think there the ISDA has a very positive role to play. I think the fact that we see Delhi Metro Rail as a stainless steel application area is primarily because to the efforts of ISDA, which it has made. You know, I remember in the 90s when I used to visit Jindal Stainless those days, and there was this design center in Jindal Stainless. Is your design center still there?
Yeah.
So the design center had virtually, developed, the architects and fabricators to promote day-to-day usage. And I remember there was one particular year where I was given a contact to even source my gift items for my small little requirements from, the fabricators of Jindal Design Center. So I think JSL has turned the face of the stainless steel industry in this country, and we are proud of JSL's contribution. So thank you, Sarma sir, once again, and with that, we'll move on to Massimo Bhutto, followed by Mr. Sridhar from ArcelorMittal Steel India. So first it is Mr. Massimo Bhutto, who's manager proposal for DW Sales Team in Daniel EMC. And once again, buongiorno to you and warm welcome. And I hope it is not very cold in Boothrio today, and you are comfortable and you take us forward to the journey. As you saw, the ex-chairman of SAIL also mentioned about the endless rolling. I'm sure you'll also touch upon that subject, which seems to be the hot topic of the day, since we need to reduce our cost. And I remember Sajanji, I was with Sajanji in visiting MITEC I think that was 8 years ago, and where Mr. Sajjan Jindal himself took a lot of interest in going for the endless rolling for, I think it was primarily for Vijayanagar plant. I think Mr. Sharma, what is the plan for Dolvi? Anything in Dolvi in particular that you're
I won't be able to comment. I won't be able to comment. Mr. Sanjay Sharma, you are asking. Over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now there is no plan. So we are still pursuing conventional hot strip mills. So both at Dolvi and Vijayanagar. So our next 5+5 expansion here would be both conventional mills. So one conventional mill is already ordered. Next expansion will be again with the conventional mill. Dolvi also, as you know, that we are just going commissioned the second hot strip mill. It is a conventional mill. So no, right now, no clear picture what we are going to do with sandless poly.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Sharma. So maybe Massimo, you'll be able to highlight how this industry can think of cost reduction in terms of utilizing the updated technologies which
First of all, buongiorno a tutti. So good afternoon, everyone, sirs. And it's really a pleasure to be here, and that I got the possibility to show which is the, let's say, the Danieli answer, not only in these specific periods, but also during the normal life, because as you know, Danieli as supplier has for many years, so since the beginning on this things are rolling, the main concept is to provide the best flexibility on the plants in order to give and provide all the customer all the tools to overcome and to select the proper operation modes in the period. So let me try. At the point, I try to share my screen, because I'd like to, let me see if you can see the presentation.
No, we cannot see it yet.
Not yet, so because I got the confirmation that I'm sharing, but if you can't see, doesn't work.
Yeah, sharing screen is enabled, so maybe if you can try again, or if you are sharing the particular application, if that is not working, you can try sharing the entire screen.
I'm sharing the screen, but let me try to share again.
Yeah, it is sharing now.
Okay, let me see if I can share. No, let's do the opposite. So sorry for this inconvenience, guys. So which one are you seeing right now? Sorry.
I'm seeing now. We can see the title slide.
Only okay. Only the slide. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So as anticipated, I'd like to introduce the concept of Danieli DUE plant, where DUE means Danieli Universal Endless. And this is really the first ever solution on flat products that nowadays is available, and to combine and so to provide the full flexibility in terms of operation modes can be applied on a single plant. So let me introduce the DUE concept. First, I'd like to highlight, but I think is well known by you all, that which are the main guidelines and the main focus that also guide Danieli to select and to design such kind of mill. The first is to provide on a single strand the highest productivity as possible. So also from the design point of view, we are able also nowadays to provide on a single strand up to almost 3 million tons per year. And this is also combined also with the standard also QSP solution that are able nowadays to reach up to 2 million each strand. but also this is also a possibility to combine and to reach on a single strand, so avoiding also the second line and whatever is connected to this, such higher productivities, without removing the possibility to get and provide the proper flexibility on the plant to produce, starting from commodity grades, so commercial ones, up to the value-added grades, so to combine both type of productivity, not only focusing on the niche of product, but just to really provide a wide range of products. And just nowadays start also more and more focusing on what we call the green approach, not only in terms of optimize OPEX and energy savings, that is also nowadays one of the best, the top topics that is fundamental on the plant, but also starting also the process to provide a really full green plants, reducing also overall impact on the ambient and so on. So removing also maybe the gas usage, just providing full electrical plants and so on. So this process is already started, and Daniele, being since the beginning the plant producer that push on the flexibility, we already start this process on going on the green direction for the complete plant, not only energy saving. This without, of course, affecting on the final quality of and tolerances on the plant. So, which are the two main plant types that are available since now on the market? The first one is to produce only in coil-to-coil mode, so 100% coil-to-coil production, where the caster and the mill are completely independent each other. So each of them can properly process the slab or the strip according to different mass flow. This can grant, of course, a wide product mix and also a big operation flexibility. On the other side, there are plants that can produce 100% endless mode, that nowadays the tendency to overcome or some limitation for ultra thin gauges. But in this case, as you are well aware, means that the caster and the mill are totally and directly connected each other. So means both of them, caster and mill, should work with the same mass flow. This is beneficial for the thin gauges production, but has some other limitation for thicker gauges or for some added value grades. So, which is the idea of Daniele, is to provide overcoming of this of both two plant limitations. So joining all the beneficial and the benefits for the two in one single plant. And this is what we call a DOE plant, that is capable to combine all the three nowadays production mode, that is the coil-to-coil production, the semi-endless production, and the full endless production. And this is possible in one single plant. Let me introduce very quickly, because I want to focus on some other parameters more than the pure technical one, but just to show how is composed this plant. We have a vertical core caster capable to cast 110 up to 123 millimeters slab thickness, with the slab casting speed up to 6 meters per minute. And normal typical range for the width is up to 1600, but is capable also to produce up also to 2000, so 12 to 2000 millimeters wide. Is composed by a caster, as I mentioned. We have also the descaler just to the first initial surface preparation starting from the slab. We have the pendulum shear that is used in coil-to-coil. Every slab is used only to produce the master slab in semi-endless, and is used just at the beginning and the end of the sequence in the endless mode. We have a tunnel furnace that mainly in endless is just as only the function to equalize the temperature coming from the slab, from the caster, that is pretty high. So in some cases, in some particular cases, when we cast at the maximum speed and 110 millimeters, is also exceeding the discharging temperature. So means the quality that we can reach on the slab is pretty high. And the furnace has two main advantages. The first one, as I mentioned, is to equalize the temperature along the slab and along the width, and also to provide the proper buffer time on during, for instance, roll change sequence on the mill, without affecting at all casting process. So the caster is not affected at all during endless production on the mill roll changing. So we allow the caster to maximize the productivity and to maximize the sequence for the full duration of the endless on the endless process. Then we have a configuration with 3 high reduction stands at the beginning. So immediately after the furnace, that is also we can have according to the mix the edger, the vertical edger in front of this high reduction train or not. This can be also selected with a discussion on customer by customer, so case by case. Then we have the typical separation between the high reduction passes and the finishing passes, introducing the crop shear to the better head and tail shape for the better treating on the finishing stands. And moreover, as well known descaler before the finishing, we have also the possibility to install a transfer bar cooling to provide and to get the possibility to process and to operate in a real thermomechanical mode. Moreover, on this, we have, that is one of these key features for the endless production, the induction heaters located in between the high reduction stands and the finishing stands. And this, as we are going to see, is mandatory to heat it up in the transfer area again, the bar, according to reach the final exit temperature at the exit of the finishing train. This is the mandatory equipment in the endless production. But as we are going to see later on in the DOE plant, this equipment will be used only according to the grade and to the product that you're going to produce. So can be used as well, cannot be used. So we can select this tool. Then, of course, we have the laminar cooling that can be properly designed according to the grades. Being this plant capable to have a wide mix, we can also provide with a dedicated laminar cooling section, design also with intensive or power cooling for early cooling at the beginning, capable to produce API grades, dual phase grades, and all the advanced high strength steel grades. So this is really a nice combination of all the features coming from both endless and coil-to-coil production. At the end, before the coilers, we have the SP shear that is devoted to the proper cut to length on the coils before the coiling phases. This is just representing an idea of the really wide product mix that this type of plant can produce, not only in terms of grades, but the thing that I want to highlight more on this is that we are able to select according to the grade, according to the thickness I want to produce, the proper operating mode that could be coil-to-coil, semi-endless or endless, according not only to the to product geometrical tolerances or dimension, but mainly from the economical point of view, according to the energy, so it means cost that I have to provide in order to produce. For instance, if I go to look on the low carbon grade, in this case we select a DD11-1, For the lowest range, so down to 1.8 millimeters, so 1.5 millimeters, the best mode that we can apply is the endless one. We have a range where the proper and the best one in terms of energy cost is the semi-endless mode. Over, for instance, 2.5 millimeters and above, the most economical, convenient operating practice is the coil-to-coil mode. So according to the grades, you can see also this range is changing. For instance, the API grade, so in thermomechanical rolling process, we are going to process only in coil-to-coil. But for the others, we are able to select which is the best operating practice to produce that thickness, that grade, and from the economical, so means cost and energy savings point of view. In this slide, just to briefly highlight which is the operating practice in terms of reduction on both high reduction passes and finishing passes. You can see in the first 3 stands, we have a very high reduction rate, up to also exceeding 50%. And also in the last finishing stands, which is the trend in order to reach 0.8 millimeters, that is the limit or the minimum that final step that we are considering. But what I want to highlight that is the temperature profile on for this endless process when we have a discharging temperature at the exit of the furnace where the slab is fully equalized up to 1180 degrees Celsius. You can see that according to the limited mass flow being connected with the caster on the high reduction stands, the temperature goes down to, for instance, in this case, 915 degrees. So to reach the proper temperature, the exit of the finishing stands in the range of 900 according to the selected one, we need to provide an additional heating process in between the high reduction and finishing in order to heat it up, in this case, up to 1160 degrees with this induction heater. That in this case, normally we provide 8 modules, means 8 units, 4.3 megawatt each for a width of the strip width up to 60 gang. But these are details that we can show, we can see later on. Then we have the standard cooling process downwards. This is the normal practice for endless. So as we can see, the installation of this induction heater is mandatory because being the mass flow the same starting from the caster down to the coiler, if we are not introduce additional heating, additional power in between, we are not able to reach the final temperature. On the other side, we have also the possibility, being in the thermomechanical road, so in the coil-to-coil only production, being caster and mill totally disconnected, we are able to operate with a different mass flow. So caster will process with the easy dependent mass flow according to the max and limitation on casting speed. The mill on the other side can select which is the proper rolling speed in order to obtain the final temperature of the finishing stands. And this allows us also to perform what we call the real thermomechanical on this lab, that also is beneficial with the utilization of this, as I mentioned before, transfer bar cooling just before the finishing passes, that can allow us to drop down the temperature, so to perform the complete, so since the beginning of the finishing passes, so the finishing rolling, for the complete 5 passes that we have here, so to process the rolling passes down, so below the non-recrystallization temperature, so the complete finishing rolling is within this range. This, as you maybe better than me, you know, this is beneficial for the final structure on the grain. So also, as you can see, since these initial slides that I was showing, we are able to both process in a real endless mode with the usage of this induction heater, and on the other side, we can process also the real thermomechanical. So we are combining the two opposite processing mode. Just so some highlights on these three operations, the coil to coil and semi-endless and endless mode, just with a short representation on the mode. So as you well know, the coil to coil means I just cut to length on the slab side according to width, according to the thickness, so I can select the slab length. And so the caster and then the mill, so I equalize the slab within the furnace. And then I can operate one slab to one coil. That is the normal practice on the mill with independent mass flow, so meaning independent speed from caster to the mill. The semi-endless means I can cast, so is just very close to the coil to coil, but I will cast and so I will cut to the proper length, so a big master piece of slab. So anyhow, the caster and the mill are decoupled, are not joined, so the mass flow are independent also in a semi-endless, but I will process one big master slab, and I will only cut to the proper length close to the coil with the high-speed shear with the final length of the coil. So also in this case, I will have caster and mill totally independent. So I can select also in this case the proper speed of the caster and the proper speed on the mill. But I got the chance in this case, being also the possibility to cast and to roll, sorry, up to 3 to 4 full coil in semi-endless. I have also the possibility to reach 10 gauges also in semi-endless, but with the main characteristics compared to coil, that is the full length of these coils are with the same characteristics in terms of mechanical and in terms of grain refinement, so without any head, without any tail. This is the big advantage. And on the other hand, the full endless mode means I'm start to produce. I'm not except for the initial phases where I just cut the first pieces. I will never use again the pendulum shear, so I will cast, and connected to the caster we have the mill. So the mill in this case is forced to operate and to roll with the same mass flow, so I cannot select the proper and the best rolling speed. And for this reason, I need this induction heater installation in order to provide, according to the thickness, according to the grades, so the final rolling speed at the exit of F5, I am able to select which is the heating, additional heating I need in between the air reduction and the finishing passes. So means that is not fixed, but this is flexible, means according to the evolution of the temperature along the mill, I will select the proper power I need to provide in this part here. And as I mentioned, the induction heater is for the endless and also semi-endless purpose is the most critical feature and equipment we should consider on the plant. And there are also two possibilities in this way, which is the standard approach with the longitudinal flux of induction heaters, and with what we Danieli select and internally develop, that is the transversal flux. The main difference is that let's say related to the possibility and the capability to heat the edges on the transfer bar, and on the longitudinal flux I'm forced according to the design. So this is the O-type shape for the coils on the inductions. According to the type of flux and the type of the configuration, I'm forced to have all the times an even number of modules, because with the different position of this unit, I can heat more on one side of the slab, and with the following one, I heat more on the opposite side of the slab. So in order to obtain at the end a uniform profile between both sides. On the other side, with the transversal flux that, as I mentioned, is internally developed by Daniele Automation. So this is a Daniele product. And so also this provides us the right flexibility to design the proper power of the module according to the need, according to the plant configuration, according to the width. In this case, I was mentioned that is 4.3 megawatt per module, each module. And normally we consider the installation of 8 modules and also the possibility to provide an additional inline spare. And normally all the complete power I need according to the strip normally is distributed along the complete set of induction. But with the transversal flux, first is not anymore the O-type one, but is a C-type. So this is beneficial from the operating practice, because in case of any trouble afterwards in the finishing mill, I have the possibility also to extract the complete modules without waiting any. So as soon as criticalities, I can extract immediately. Or also in case of one module failure, I can extract and put offline to provide the proper maintenance, and I can provide the spare one in line. And so I can overcome, I'm really flexible to overcome any troubles without affecting the overall productivity and the overall process. And also each of these modules has the possibility, the control to shift the top and the bottom. So I have a relative movement in between the top and bottom in order to provide the proper flux and so the proper heater for the operating and for the drive side of for both of the edges. And also I can adjust vertically in terms of thickness. So according also to the thickness of the transfer bar, I can also adjust vertically, so the distance in between the two top and bottom coils, in order to adjust time by time according to the final thickness and so the final transfer bar, the proper location, to provide so to increase the efficiency of this equipment. So it's not fixed, but I can adjust time by time according to the process. So this is also, and I can select also according to the grade, according to the condition. So as soon as I got the feedback on the exit of the finishing train, I can adjust and can select also to operate with the cold edges or warm edges or really also hot edges. And I can obtain this just moving back and forth. So on the shifting, the relative shifting between the top and bottom coils, and also adjusting the height between the two coils. So this is in order to provide the best uniform thermal profile before entering in the finishing train. It's not only a matter of to reach the higher temperature before the finishing train, but also to provide this in a uniform way on the width and also along the length of the. Sorry for the noise. I don't know if you can hear this, but here on the top you can see the transfer bar that is entering. So the heaters are already located in position, and in this case we are using all the 8 modules. The 9th one, so the spare one, you can see here on the is just still offline, so means that is not needed. And we can distribute the complete power along the 8 modules. So you can also appreciate, maybe also later on in one picture, you can appreciate more the difference in terms of heating that we have from the entry side and the exit side. From the data analytics means also it's not only a matter of mechanical features, but also nowadays the plant should also be provided with all the features in terms of automation, and also with the interface that we can provide to not only anymore collecting data, that also is fundamental, because nowadays really the amount of information you can collect from the plant is a very huge amount, but also you need also the possibility with this Q3 intelligence also to analyze the data and to get the correct feedback, the proper analysis in order to better operate the plant, together with the proper HMI, the proper also interfaces, the performance indicator, and also all the operator. Just I want to show here very quickly, because all these parameters with the tracking, the master, the equipment control, all of this at the end will be collected and analyzed with this Q3 intelligence, but also to provide matter of, as I mentioned, reporting. So I can really visualize, I can also I can select time by time, so the operator, but not only the operator can on real time select the proper data you want to analyze, they want to check, so it can really have the possibility to see, to control all the parameters on real time. But also, as I mentioned before, that is becoming more and more important on daily basis, also the statistical method, so the possibility to analyze all the data and that I'm able to collect nowadays. So we have to get the possibility both to operate in a smart way, also all the smart controls that is available on the market, but also to analyze. So the combination of the two is becoming more and more critical and important, especially in this kind of plants that is really so flexible to operate in all these kind of modes. This is just an example of the plant performance indicator. So I have in real time all the parameters available on the screen, and can select several types of screens and data I want to select. And as I also mentioned, it's not only a matter of collecting, but also should be also becoming more and more problem solving. So I need also to provide the proper analysis, the proper reporting and analysis in order to let me operate in the best way. So provide also the correct support in the decision process. This is just an example of the pulpit, so with the 3Q control that is available on our reference plant in China, that I will disclose just in the following slide some data, but you can really appreciate the amount of human interface position. So in ones, so we have only one pulpit that can control till the exit of the caster. So the caster has his own dedicated pulpit. From the caster down, we have only one pulpit that can control and have the complete situation. So he has the possibility to control, to check and to adjust all the parameters of the complete line in one pulpit only. So as I mentioned before, I'd like to provide you some data on the running reference that we have, that is nowadays is fully commissioned, and this is the first plant that has the capability to operate, and not because is forced to operate in one type of process, like in coil-to-coil only or endless only, but getting the possibility to select the best and the proper operating mode according to the product that I have to produce. This with the aim to minimize or to optimize the cost related to to the energy I should give to the operating practice. So this type of plant, according to the liquid steel availability, is limited to only 2.1, 2.2 million tons per year. But according to the data coming from the plant, according to the tons per minute and the rolls and the tons that we are able to roll in per each sequence, also this plant is capable, if in case of liquid steel availability, to roll up to 2.8, 2.9 millions for with a single strand. So this is also coming back from which is one of our first target. So increasing the productivity per strand, so in one strand only. Also this plant that is not designed for, but with the results coming from the operating practice, also even not designed, as I mentioned, is capable to produce also up to 2.8, 2.9 million tons per year. As I mentioned, the slab thickness is in the range of 110, 123 millimeters, with the slab length according to is close to 25 meters. And according to the mix that is designed together with the customer, is in between 0.8 and half inches, so 12.7 millimeters. But there is no limitation in terms also of the maximum thickness, also because also with this slab thickness we are able also to roll up to, for instance, 16 or 18 millimeters. But maybe only with the simple possibility to change the mold with a flat mold, we can also even cast up to 140 millimeters, for instance. And so we got the possibility also to cast with a proper reduction rate, also up to 20 millimeters. You can see also which is the specific weight that is selected, is up to 21 kilograms per millimeter for the coil-to-coil process, up to 24 kilograms per millimeter in this process, and providing the possibility to really process a wide range of grades, starting from the commodity grades, so low carbon grades. We also can cast and process medium carbon, high carbon, low alloy grades, but also wear resistant grades, API grades, dual phase and perithetic. So just to provide some additional data coming from the plant, for instance, in the minimum thickness that nowadays we process is 1.8 millimeters for low carbon grade. And also we process in semi-endless mode low carbon grades, medium carbon, wear resistant grades also, and high carbon grades. For instance, medium carbon down to 1.8 millimeters, wear resistant down to 1.4 millimeters, and high carbon down to 3 millimeters. So this is also to highlight again the flexibility that this plant can provide to the customer. And so also being also in this period, the flexibility is a very important factor. We can select according to the thickness and according to the grade the proper operating mode. So this is the answer from the supplier point of view to provide this type of plant to the customer nowadays, to provide to the worldwide, not only for market region, but this is a general concept to provide the customer the proper tool to select and to operate the plant according to the market requirements. So sometimes maybe we can have the most demanding grades for thinner gauges. Sometimes maybe also we have some market demands for high added value grades. So according to this, according to the market, according to the thickness, according to the grades, and also on the prices that also, as also since now we have also already very clearly highlighted, is changing time by time, is changing also quite quickly, and also the plant and also the customer should be able to react very quickly and getting the possibility to select and they have the possibility to process both thinning gauges and thicker gauges and to select the optimal operating practice in terms of energy costs according to the market demands and the market condition, the cost of the energy also for the gas or for the electricity. I can select and switch very, very quickly the proper operating mode. So this is an overview of the plant. So here we can just see the exit of the furnace. We have the 3 reduction. We have this center area on the transfer bar where we have the crop shear in order to proper cut the head and tail end. We have these induction heater modules. Also, you can appreciate, maybe also in the movie that I will show later on, you can appreciate how the transfer bar temperature can change from the entry side and the exit side. And then we have, this is the box that include, I consider both descaling, high pressure descaling. In this case, we are considering 380 bars at the nozzle to properly optimize the flow rate on the water, because as you can easily understand, during the endless purpose and the endless process, the temperature profile and the possibility to control this profile is the key point, the key feature. So we need to limit as much as possible the drop of temperatures, and utilizing these high pressure descalers, we can reduce the flow rate, so reducing also the drop of temperature. But also we consider we install in the same box a transfer bar cooling is that can provide in a really fast way a big amount of water, as I was showing before, to drop down very quickly the temperature below the no recrystallization temperature if I go and I want to process the thermomechanical mode. And also here is highlighted that in this reference plant, it is the first ever plant that can process in this in this way. We are able to reach the full endless process. So starting from coil to coil, then we implement the semi-endless mode, but we achieve the full endless process only after 45,000 tons produce of coil. So in a fast way, being also this the first ever type of plant in this way. Here is some picture, like also some plant performance indicator that is the operator can select. But I want to highlight before showing the movie of the plant how this is the distribution of this operating practice. Divided in the blue one is the coil to coil practice, the endless is the green one, the semi-endless is the red one, the purple one. So means we have a range of products where the endless, so below 1.2 millimeters, the endless is the only way or the best way in terms of tolerances, in terms of mechanical properties of the strip, but also temperature and cost. The endless is the only way I can produce. Like if I just forward to the thicker gauges, here is just indicated the 6 millimeter, but as I show, we can also reach the half-inch thickness and more. And then there is an area where I can select, depending on the grades, depending on the final thickness, which is the best one from endless or semi-endless, and also the area where also I can select all of these three I can be used. So according to all the parameters that this Q3 Intelligent can analyze, I can and able to select the proper word. So means, sorry if I bother you on this, but this is really the key point that the possibility not only to select, but to adopt the optimal one in terms of thickness and grade I want to reach, but also in terms of economical point of view, so energy saving, energy cost I have to use. So this really can provide you a good picture of all the possibility that this plant can provide.
Massimo, sorry for interfering, but if you could just rush up a bit because we are running late.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I just want to show you this quick movie that is interesting to have a complete picture of the reference plant, and then I just make the conclusion if it's okay for you. Okay, so this is the movie. So starting from the turret on the caster. Here we have the actual caster with the pendulum shear that, as I mentioned, according to the operating mode I select, I can cut to length or the slab or not. You have seen the furnace, highlighting again the possibility to have the proper buffer time for this. This is the critical area, means with induction heater installation. I don't know if you are able to appreciate also the movement that the headers has in terms of adjusting for the height. This is the cooling section where you can properly design according to the grade if consider not dual phases or API grades. The coiling phases here I think is difficult, but you can see where you cut with the pendulum shear. Now we were calling for this, and now you can see the strip that is forward to the following coiler. So the process of the cut and forwarding from one coil to the other is really a matter of few millimeters between the tail of one and the head on the following one. So it's a very, 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 very fast process. So just to provide you a complete picture on this. So just the conclusion. If sorry for if I'm late for this, but this is really a very nice but also full of details concept. Just to summarize, this is the DOE single production line that can combine, as I mentioned, high productivity, but also the operation flexibility applying the 3 production mode, providing the proper quality in terms of tight tolerances and for all the mass demanding application, not only for the commodities ones, with the possibility to operate in thermomechanical with the multi-phase rolling, producing both ultra thin and also thick gauges, commodity and also value-added grades, and getting in mind the focus that nowadays that became more and more the most critical one with the clean technology, with the energy consumption and clear in mind. And this also, as I mentioned, became more and more important and critical that also Daniel start to develop new and additional features to go in this direction. And this is everything controlled with this process and Q3 intelligence. So this is all. Sorry if I'm I'm going long for this, but for this is the Daniele and from the supplier point of view, the replies on the market continuously changing and time by time very, very quick mode. Thanks for the attention, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Massimo. Thank you so much. Sorry, it was very interesting presentation, and we are all, looking for to do a in terms of implementation and energy savings in most of our plants, most of them are in 90s and 80s.
So already the possibility to select the right mode is beneficial to get the proper savings since the beginning, and more we are going in this direction.
Thank you so much, Mr. Massimo.
Thanks you.
So we will now move on to our next speaker, who's been waiting for a long time, Mr. R.V. Sridhar. He is the Executive Director and CEO of Coated Steel, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. So he's going to talk about the outlook for the coated products, the color coated products, which comes out of the Pune facility. And Sridhar has spent a good amount of time in this segment. So I'm sure he's going to take us through the journey post-pandemic. What is the present demand scenario? And this was one unit which was acquired by SR Steel from Sri Pre-Coated Steels, and thereafter it's now ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. And a good amount of the output from the coating facility was earlier exported to countries like Italy, though there were small quantities, but a good amount was exported to Europe. I don't know what the scenario presently is like and how much Sridhar is exporting right now. So over to you, Sridhar.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Mukherjee. Thanks a lot for inviting me onto this panel. And before I start, let's see the differences between the first wave of this pandemic and the second wave. First wave, there was a complete lockdown. There was operations were quite minimized in most of the mills. But in the second wave, it has been a nuanced, lockdown in a way, because our plants have been running to full capacity, in fact, near full capacity. And also the interstate movement of materials also, there is no sort of restriction. Apart from this, the steel cycle then, let's say last year, was at one of the lowest prices. But today we are at the highest, so the roof of steel prices, both in domestic as well as international. At the same time, why we have been able to get such high prices is because the international scenario is quite strong and we have been able to export in a big way. In fact, the exports between last year to this year have increased by almost 24% year on year. So this year, this calendar year, we would like to do, most probably we'll be ending up at 10 million tons of flat steel exports. So this is the situation the difference between the first and second wave. Normally, the flat steel demand in India is slightly under 4 million tons a month, or let's say about 47 to 48. This was the production in the calendar year 2019, around 47 and a half. But however, last year, it fell down to 45 million. This year, this calendar year, we surmise that the flat steel production will go up to 51 million tons. And this has been an increase. Last year was a decrease over the previous year, but this year it will be an increase over the last year. And this year's production will be even higher than 2019. At the same time, consumption, which was 47 million tons in 2019, fell down drastically by 15% to 40 million in 2020 calendar year. But this year, it is increasing to 45 million tons. But still, whatever consumption which we are having of flat steel this calendar year, would still be lower than 2019. But the production is higher than 2019 significantly. This is the reason because we are doing a lot of exports, as I mentioned, about 10 million tons. It is this which is adding buoyancy to even the domestic market, because the availability of materials in the domestic market is reducing quite drastically because of this super commodity cycle in exports. And as our CEO and MD had mentioned earlier, we are going to increase our capacity to 18 million tons and at a capex of about 50,000 crores. I'm told that over the next 3-4 years, the total capex which is being spent and the additional steel capacity which is coming is about 31 million tons in flat. So this is a significant increase. Even NMDC is coming up with 3 million tons. Now, while we are talking about all this, about the flat steel in general, what about the coated steel? Around 8 million tons was the demand in 2019, but we expect by 2024, in the next 2 or 3 years, it will go up to about 12 million tons. So this is an increase of about 8% or so, especially the color-coated steel, which is the demand was 2.3 million tons in 2019, is likely to increase to 3.3 to 3.4 million tons in 2024-25. This itself is an increase of 12%. Now, this is what we normally expect. But however, there has been a black swan event because of this pandemic and because of this investment in cold storage, sandwich panels and all that. there is an increase of the sandwich panels, and this cold storage facility is increasing drastically. So this 3.5, whatever I have mentioned, could be the demand which is in 2024, maybe even higher, maybe even 4.5 million tons. There is another significant paradigm shift which is happening. Worldwide, there is an, e-commerce is coming up in a big way. The total trade is about $65 trillion worldwide per annum. But out of this, e-commerce is going to do is about 4.2 trillion dollars or so, which is quite less. But this percentage is increasing drastically. Now, because of this e-commerce and all, there is a lot of investment in warehouses. There is if most of these cold store, color coated and all is going into the cold storage and all. So we are finding that despite whatever lockdown and all, the color coated demand is not reducing at all. In fact, it is exploding in a way. So the online demand for warehouses is almost thrice what is the physical transaction of physical movement of goods. If you have an online, it is almost 3 times the demand. So here we have a situation where we are exporting for warehouses in Europe and Italy. Mr. Mukherjee, were talking about our exports. So we are exporting in a big way, especially to the warehouses in Italy and all that, in Spain and Greece and so on and so forth, but also in India. We are also, as I mentioned, we are doing conversion in Uttam. From there also, we are doing a lot of significant quantities to various white good manufacturers, especially Godrej and all, where most of our materials is going for racking systems in warehouses. So here we have a situation where, because of this e-commerce and also because of this pandemic induced cold storage demand and all, there is a big demand for downstream products. We in ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel are likely to invest about 2 million tons of capacity in the next 3 or 4 years in coated, out of which around 1 million ton is going to come from color coating itself. Globally, there is a big stimulus which is happening. Prior to Trump departing, he had given a stimulus, and that stimulus amounted to $600 per person in the US. Now, after Biden has come, there is additional, per person stimulus which is going is about $1,400. Together, we are talking about per person getting $2,000 in which is called a blockbuster stimulus. In fact, there is a 1.6 trillion excess savings in US. Apart from this, after Biden has come, he has announced 1.9 trillion stimulus, and then again, in additional 2.7 trillion stimulus in infrastructure and all that. Because of this, there is a global demand which is going to go up in a big way. Apart from this, we also have something called NGEU, New Generation EU Fund, which is about 750 billion euros or about $920 billion, which is a stimulus again being given in Europe. Now, because of this, you have countries like Bulgaria, Greece, and so on and so forth. Their GDPs are expected to grow by about 10%, whereas the major chunk of this stimulus, the beneficiaries will be Italy and Spain. Now, because of this, you have a big demand for exports for color-coated or the coated products, or even in general steel from these countries. So we have a situation where most of our Indian mills are running to full capacity. Then again, as an experience which we draw from last year, as soon as the lockdown was lifted, the pent-up demand got released, and per month you had increases, step-by-step increase in the demand for steel. We started at about 2.5 million in May 2020. The consumption was 2.5 million tons. Then it increased to 3 million. Then increased to 3.2. In the next, by about October, November, we had a situation of 4 million tons, 4.2, 4.5 million tons, etc. The same thing we expect this year as well, as a lockdown is easing and the pent-up demand slowly goes up. So these are some of the things which are happening. Apart from this, there is also a lot of green stimulus which is coming. There was a study by Ernst & Young and FICCI where it is estimated some 6 lakh crores are going to be sort of invested in what we call as a green stimulus, making various different green products, energy saving mechanisms and all coming up. And this also is going to boost demand for steel. So what we are finding as a commodity super cycle may not be a one-off affair. It could be the structural change which is happening worldwide. And also there is something called the climate change. G7 countries are investing $100 billion per annum in all these green products. We also have a recent study done by the Delhi government, 2041, where Delhi's population is likely to increase to 30 million people. So in this, in order to sustain this huge population, what it is being thought of as affordable housing. Now, this affordable housing is again a demand booster for steel, especially coated steel. Thanks to Narendra Modi government, we are having a lot of steel-intensive, steel-friendly initiatives which are coming, like grain silos. In India, we produce about 20 million tons of food grains every year, out of which quite a significant 6 to 7 million rot. So in order to prevent the rotting of all this food grains and all, grain silos are being invested in a big way. And there is this dynamic minister, Nitin Gadkari, who's building highways at the rate of 41 kilometers per day. Now, this again is a big demand booster for steel, especially with all these petrol pump canopies and toll nakas and all, which are happening at various places. We also have the solar demand coming up in a big way. India is going to be one of the largest, producers of green energy, the solar energy and all. Apart from all this, we also have the Modi government investing 111 million toilets, which has happened in the year 2020. Now, this again is a big demand booster. India, which was considered a big bathroom, having people used to urinate publicly and all that, but that situation is now slowly coming out, and we have, because of these flat steel demand coming up in a big way. Now, apart from this, we also have, as I mentioned, low-cost houses and all. We also have, thanks to this pandemic, clean rooms, cold rooms, antibacterial versions. Then we have, hospitals which are using, cold storage in a big way. We have also ourselves exported to Qatar and various other places. India has a good cold storage capacity, but however, the pharma and the medical cold storage is not there much. So this is one area where, a lot of investments which we are likely to. I'm sure all of you know, Government of India between August to December is going to have 217 crores of vaccinations done, dosages done, which is about 2.17 billion. Now, this is a big demand booster for cold storage. So, as we have seen, world over and more so in India, we are having this pent-up demand and also green steel, then this, cold storage. A lot of things are happening, and which is a demand booster. Lastly, yesterday's Economic Times, if you have read, we are talking about the fast-moving consumer goods, white goods and all, where the demand is likely to grow between 10 to 12%. We in ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel are concentrating in a big way in consumer goods and white goods. We supply steel to all these, end users. These are some of the things which are going to help us further in taking the steel consumption forward. And as I've said, this so-called super cycle is not something a one-off flash in the pan. It's a structural change which has happened, and we look forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you so much. And as usual, you explained how the super cycle has also given us an opportunity during crisis. We have opportunities. Every day we talk about the wastage because of the cold chain not being in place. The amount of vaccine we are losing because we do not have the capability of storage. So I'm sure, these storage, which needs a lot of steel for the storage facilities to be built and refrigerated containers. This has a huge demand, considering the fact that we may have a third phase or even a fourth phase. We don't know if the third wave or the fourth wave comes. God forbid, we should be prepared to face those challenges. So I think the coated steel segment has a huge potential. When we move to the entire Seven Sisters in Northeast, I think a huge amount of roofing application requires these coated steel, for which we need much more capacity, because we really do not have big capacities available for coated steel as of today. We need
one of the world's largest warehouses being built with the collaboration between Flipkart and Adani. So these sort of warehouses and all is where we have a big demand boost for steel.
Great, great.
There has been a paradigm shift now. There's more of instead of physical goods, we have a lot of e-commerce and all, and this is boosting demand for warehouses and cold storage.
Right. Yeah. With the Amazons and the Reliance's brick and mortar store being replaced by web-based platforms, they need central warehouses where I'm sure the coated products will have a huge demand, because there is a huge amount of aesthetic value which is added to coated steel compared to your traditional, let's say, GPGC sheets. So there, obviously, you will have a major role to play in the days to come. And with that, I will move on to, again, let's say one of your major players who also happens to be in the coated market, besides being the largest say player in India today, JSW Steel. And I'm thankful to Dr. Nawal for nominating Mr. Sanjay Sharma. I just sent a WhatsApp message to Dr. Nawal requesting him to be there. So immediately, within a minute, his reply comes, Mr. Sanjay Sharma will be there. So I'm thankful to Dr. Nawal for nominating Mr. Sharma, who heads the mills, and he knows the mills in and out. So over to you, Sharma-ji, and take us through the journey of the flat segment as we are going through this super cycle.
Thank you, Mukherjee. So, Shri Anil Chaudhary, Shri Vijay Sharma-ji, Subrata Mitra-ji, Mr. Sridhar, other eminent panel members on organizing committee, audiences, good afternoon. So it's my privilege today to be speaking on this platform. I'm Sanjay Sharma. I work as Senior VP, Rolling Mills in Vijayanagar Works. So my presentation is basically a compilation of some numbers, facts, trends. Many of these points have been already covered in the previous presentations. Probably there will be repetition of that, but I will try to skip all those points which have been covered earlier by the other presenters. So it will be a formal presentation. I will try to start the presentation now. This?
Yes, sir. You have to just share the screen, Sharma-ji. Just use the screen share option. वो हरा button जो है.
Yes. Is it visible?
Absolutely visible, Sharma-ji. Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Only I think you need to ठीक है, perfect.
And anything you want to say?
No, it's perfect है, एकदम सही है, Sharma-ji, no problem. Please.
Okay. So this is the subject, the outlook for technology and demand for flat steel products during and beyond the second wave of pandemic. So my presentation is basically what happened before pandemic, what happened during pandemic, and how do we see things happening in the coming years. Contents of my presentation is basically the impact of COVID, how the macroeconomic conditions and demand drivers are fanning out, economy and sectoral growth projections, current HRC capacity. So my presentation basically concentrated around HRC capacity and production growth projections, Indian HRC demand and growth projections, some papers on pages on the technology, and then I will try to sum it up in a paper and a page. We all know this, that there was a massive impact of COVID-19. There were supply side shocks, there were supply chain disruptions, factories were shut down, logistics were not available to the customers. Whatever we wanted to consume, our raw materials, our consumables were not available to be shifted. There were parts and component shortage during those times. There were strict government restrictions about the number of people who can come to the plant. There were a time when JSW Steel was operating with maybe 30 to 40% of people. Those were the restrictions. People were not willing, even when the plant was ready to take those people were not available and willing to work. So those were serious disruptions and all sectors were affected. The complete global supply chain was affected during those times. I'm talking about the period when the complete lockdown was announced last year in March, right up to May and June. There were demand shocks. There were containment everywhere. The confidence was low. People were not willing to commit any purchases. People were not having jobs. People were scared to spend money. So there were some factors which were seriously impacted by the demand shock. Housing sector, for example, automotive sale nosedived during those times. Then there were financial market issues. There were uncertainty about the containment, fear of economic recessions. There were share market rout. People who had produced and delivered the materials to the customers, they were not getting the money back. Nobody was knowing when they get the money returned to their business. So construction sector, mechanical machinery sectors were impacted because of those financial market volatility. I mean, these are the common impact because of the fallout of the economic, the COVID-19 last year. How it affected the economy. These are the 4 or 5 quarter growths shown on this paper. Last 2 quarters of the last financial years were bad, not so good, but still manageable. There was growth of 3.3% in Q3 of 20 and 3% in Q4 of 20. But then the lockdowns was announced. And you see what happened in Q1 of FY21. The economy, the GDP shrank by almost 25%. And then there was slow opening of the economy. Some sectors, some cities were opening up, leading to some revival of economic activities, but the shrinkage was still there in that quarter. And after that, from Q3 onwards, the economy started to grow a little bit. Last quarter of the last financial year, we saw positive movements up to 1.6% growth happening quarter to quarter. So effect of all those disruptions are shown in these 2 curves. Left side is the world situation and right side is the Indian situation. If you look at the demand growth in 2019 over 2018, it was healthy. In 2020, because of COVID, there was shrinkage. And this shrinkage was not much. It was only 0.2% because some of the countries like China was growing still during those times. And we are expecting a kind of a number which is about 6% growth over the previous year, over 2020 in the coming year. So we are seeing that things are now getting stabilized and we'll see growth in the whole world market. Indian scenario, if you see, 2020, the economy was bad. Our GDP shrank by about 7.5% and our consumption was down from about 100 million ton to 93 million tons. It is expected to go to 105 to 110 million tons. Some optimistic views are that it may our demand would be around 110 million tons next year. Maybe 105 is an optimistic view. But both the views or scenarios show a very healthy growth over 2020, maybe between 15 to 20%. So this is about the scenario in 2021. We saw GDP shrinking by about 7.5%. But it is going to be healthy from next year onwards. The earlier projections were that the growth will be around 12.5%, but then wave 2 happened. So wave 2 has reduced the projections further from around 12.5% to about, most of the agencies are predicting about 8.5 to 9%. And this will be followed by around 6.5 to 6.9% from 23 to 26. If you see the contractions, FY21, there were massive contractions in capital goods, consumer durables, and these two sectors. Some of the sectors were not too much affected, like construction and infra, which was supported by the government. But we are going to see a massive expansion again in FY22. If you see this, automotive is likely to again grow by 24.7%, maybe not so much now because of the second wave impact, but this assessment was done before second wave. So overall, we are likely to grow by approximately 15 to 18% in terms of the steel consumption in FY22. Flat and long, this is just a ratio, so I'm skipping this point. So these are some of the numbers which are related to what the Indian government is doing to support the demand. Some of the initiatives the government has taken is like the government has announced the support to some projects in the following areas: energy, roads, urbanization. I think it's part of the NIP schemes, which is likely to result in a total investment of 111 lakh crore rupees. These are some of the schemes announced by the government, and in all those schemes put together, we are likely to see around 180 million tons of additional demand coming in next 5 to 6 years. Then there's a new scheme announced, the PLI scheme for the steel production, some special steels, specialty steels to boost local manufacturing and enhance export substitutions in the areas of head hardened rails, API, EG color, alusing and tin products. So that will also additionally support local production and reduce imports. So this is something about the HRC capabilities right now existing in the country. Our current, which is the base also for 1920, the HRC capacity is 39.2 million tons, which is likely to reach 60 million tons in FY26. And left side top, you see what is the current capacity from different manufacturers. Tata Steel and JSW Steel both are leading at this moment, but there are additional capacity coming in AMNS, SAIL, and also NMDC. So with this capacity and production, both are likely to increase by 57% over from the base year of 1920 to FY26. This is also explained in this table. Our current base year number was 39.2, which is 1920. Captive consumption was 15.3. Free HRC 23.9, import 2.4, saleable HRC. So if we consider organic demand of 20 million tons, so 5.3 was available for export. Similarly, if you see in the coming years, the consumption is strongly growing and the steel available for export is coming down. So it will keep a healthy price situation in domestic market. So what is in store for steel industry in coming times? Second wave took the wind out of an economic recovery that was gathering momentum. We all know that we were expecting a very strong GDP growth in FY21-22, 12.5%, everybody announced. But then second wave happened. Now this is being toned down to say about 8.5 to 9%. We are expecting domestic demand will improve in Q2 of this year. Right now the demand is very weak, and most of the steel production is going for export customers. Most steel Indian customers, Indian manufacturers are able to maintain volume due to export opportunity robust prices. So everybody is exporting. I believe from 15 to 20% of the production of most of the steel producer is getting exported. Indian demand is poor right now, but it is likely to reverse in the coming times. Flat steel, JSW thinks that what is a market? Domestic is not the only market available. Maybe for long, but for flat, what is a market? So we should continue to grow, look for opportunity abroad, and we should grow and add capacity, not considering the Indian consumption scenarios. We should grow and add capacity, looking at what is happening in the world market. And government has also taken many initiatives to boost consumption. That will also yield results in coming years. So something about the innovation. So something which is happening in the industry, which was given a boost during the COVID impact. You know, the operations technology will change over a period. More and more manual processes are becoming. So every company is looking at how to automate the processes. We were having so many some processes which were manual, where people were involved, and last 1 year, huge impetus was given to convert all those manual processes to digital, automate. Use of CRM to take customer experience feedback facing interaction using mobile technology, track and trace mechanism and linkages by IoT. Everything which we do in JSW is now connected using IoT. Each and every vehicle movement, each and every material movement which happens in JSW is part of our tracking system, which is a huge improvement which happened last some months last year. Some manual processes of today will be disrupted by digital platforms like supply chain system. Most of the supply chains in steel companies were manual. Ours was also not so automated. But recently we have implemented complete automated tracking of our supply chain, both inbound side and outbound side. Each and every vehicle movement, rail movement, even ship movement is being put into some kind of single platform for complete tracking of our logistic systems. So these are some of the areas where JSW is extensively is working. A lot of improvements, a lot of new systems have been implemented, like robotics. We are implementing robotics wherever it is possible. SMS shops, electrode joining robots, EBT cleaning robots, shroud fixing. This is under consideration. Zinc dross skimming. All our galvanizing line in Vijayanagar, we are going to put zinc dross skimming robots, error proofing, robotic level pasting, and barcode scanning, so that the error proofing is done. Big data analytics. It's a huge improvement in terms of the quality management we have in Vijayanagar works. We have a system where complete process parameter, each and everything which we do is taken into a computer system. The products are tested, and the computer system, it does using some algorithm. It does a calculation whether the product is exactly suitable for the intended application or not, and gives the advice which has to be followed. So the manual intervention is reduced for making quality management, quality decisions. IoT enabled devices. So as I told earlier, each and every asset is now IoT sensor fixed. So we are able to monitor each and asset in JSW Steel. Cloud computing in the area of predictive maintenance, we are using cloud computing. So now we do not have on-site a computer system for the predictive maintenance. We have the complete sensors. We have data to the cloud. We have the algorithm in the clouds, and those algorithm tells you what is happening with your equipment. A huge improvement of the maintenance systems and the maintenance practices now with this technology. System integrations, anomaly detections, unmanned operation of barrel reclaimers. So we recently started automating our barrel reclaimers. So nobody is there, only cameras and sensors. A person sits in a control room half a kilometer away, and the barrel reclaimer works. So this is something which was a phenomenal work done in this area. Advanced analytics to improve mill pacing. So hot strip mill productivity depends on how well you are able to control your mill pacing. The slab should be drop out at the right time. If you delay it, if you make it early, it waits. So it is inefficient. Probably sometimes it becomes colder. If it is delayed, it's a productivity less. So exactly when you should take the slab from the furnace is till now was done by operators. So now we are implementing quite advanced analytics where the computer tells exactly what time the slab should be taken. We are also extensively implementing modeling. So silicon prediction model, CCS prediction model, CCS and RDI for our pellet plants, tumbler index for our pellet plant, which will improve productivity in blast furnaces. So this models runs to tell exactly under what condition, what output you will be getting. We also have models implemented for phosphorus and carbon prediction in our steel mill shop. Property production in flat and long products. So these are the areas where we have extensively used digital technology to improve our performance. Also, something about the products. When we talk about technology, so we produce, know that we have got one of the most sophisticated hot and cold mills. So produce automotive products. Right up to 1180 megapascal strength that is available in CR. Coated steels for automotive right up to 780 MPa, both in GA and GI form. We are also in electrical steel. We produce all type of electrical steel right up to 350 grades, high silicon. So these are some of the areas where we are producing using high technology, high technology equipments to produce high performance products for our customers. So just to summarize what I said, COVID-19 had significant impact on global economic performance. We also what happened last year, what is happening now. Steel sector actually is holding up better. If you see the contraction which happened last year in economy in terms of GDP, and a contraction which happened in the steel consumption, though they don't match. The recovery is also very fast, and we expect that recovery will continue to happen next 3 to 4 quarters. Major steel using sectors will take up to 2 years to come back to 2019 performance levels. We are seeing what is happening in automotive. Automotive is still struggling because of repeated lockdowns and slow opening of the cities and economy. So we think that probably one more year of pain in some of the steel consuming sectors. Global steel use will increase again in 2021 after decline during it was a small decline, but it will grow again in 21. Use of technology, yes. So COVID has forced most of the steel producer to look at technology not as an option, but as a solution for improving efficiency. So most I believe just like the JSW is using technology, increasing our spent on technology, basically the digital technology, other companies are also looking at the same direction. Thank you. So that is the end of my presentation, sir.
Thank you so much, Sharmaji. Thank you so much. And really appreciate. Only request is, Sharmaji, if you could compile your presentation in an article format. We would like to publish it in the June issue of our magazine in Steel and Metallurgy. If you could just compile this in an article format, and my office will be in touch with you to ensure that you just send in a file with your photograph and the official format so that we could publish it. It's an excellent presentation. And it has a lot of inputs into it, a lot of, I would say, including forward-looking statements, which is very, very important. And as Sajanji always says, every challenge brings an opportunity. So that is Sajanji's pet statement, which he keeps going. And I'm sure this challenge has also thrown up many opportunities before us. And we must capitalize on those opportunities. There is pent-up demand. And, we have a huge market of 1.4 billion people. But Sajanji at the same time has mentioned always that in India, the challenge is people still do not know how to use steel. So we have to teach the people how to use steel, use more steel in their lives, in their livelihoods. So that is one thing which, but at the same time, I would really think we are blessed that the reduction in demand has happened more, I would say, in the long segment than the flat segment. The long has suffered more. The bleeding has been more. The bleeding has been more there. So the other day when we did our long product seminar, in fact, the Builders Association of India, they kept on repeating one thing, that there is at the price which you're selling rebars today, there is no way we can sell our properties with this input cost. So then again, we have to understand one thing, that this is, as we began by saying, there is no cartelization in this industry. It is purely market driven. It is purely because of the super cycle. And I'm sure there will be corrections. And once iron ore also stabilizes, iron ore price stabilization is also very important. Because coking coal price has not shown any major upheavals in the recent months, but iron ore has. So I'm sure this will also be a challenge to ensure that. And moreover, JSW should be happy because now you have already acquired mines and you have started operating these mines. So both AMNS India and JSW, their mines have now started giving captive inputs for your plants, which should help in stabilizing your input cost to some extent. And it was an excellent presentation all through. I think Subroto, you also agree that Mr. Sanjay Sharma's presentation was an excellent one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a wonderful presentation. In brief, we touched upon what happened then, initial, and what is expected to happen, and JSW's goal. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. And also please convey my regards to Dr. Nawal for such a wonderful presentation on behalf of JSW. We are really grateful to you, Sharma sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee.
By the one, just I wanted to interrupt.
Please.
I don't know whether you know, I was looking after JSW Dolby 5 million ton expansion till March 2020.
March 2020?
I retired. So from Dastur side, I was working as joint managing director, looking after JSW Dolby 5 million ton expansion.
Okay, great.
Whole team. So,
working with Atul Verma and his team.
Atul Verma, then Mr. Patidar.
Mr. Patidar.
Dr. Noel, Sajjanji also initially, the layout finalization. It was a great working with your team. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subroto. Thank you, Sharmaji. I will move on to our last presentation of today. It is from Mr. Arpan Chakravarti, Senior Manager Flow Control Digital Services, SGS India Limited, and he's going to primarily highlight the portfolio of CERT, which is a company from Spain, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's from France.
Oh, France, I'm sorry. Okay, so the floor is yours, Mr. Chakravarti.
Okay, thank you, and good evening to all the panelists, audience, and the organizers. Thank you for organizing this and inviting us in this forum. It was a good learning, at least for me, being an individual, and a good forum to showcase some of our solutions. So I'll just share my screen. Just let me know when you see my screen. It's visible?
No, not yet.
Maybe I'll try once again. Yeah, you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, good. to start with, many of you know Vesuvius as the refractory player in the market. But this is a separate business unit called Flow Control Digital Services, and I hope Vesuvius is the only refractory company, at least as on date, who is investing a lot in the digitization of steel plants or in the steel making process. And we are in collaboration with all the regional and the global giants in some of the big research and development project in terms of digitization of the steel plants. So today I will just go through a few slides which would tell you what exactly we do in the digital services business unit in terms of industry 4.0 in the steel plants. So to start with, I'll go by in next slide where I would talk about the few solutions that we have today. One is the continuous Tundish temperature measurements. So we have different systems for that. We have automatic mode level control, AMLC, what we call. So basically it is from Cert Metal. So Vesuvius acquired this company called Cert Metal maybe a decade back, and Cert is now a brand of Vesuvius. So Cert basically it's a 70 to 75 years old company, and they were the pioneer in introducing this stopper mechanism mode level control in the steel making process. We have something called real-time surface scanning system of your products, the hot surface scanning system, and we have something called breakout prevention system. So I'll just go one by one to start. Why continuous temperature measurement is required. So as you know, majorly people go for a deep measurement which gives the temperature for over a particular in a gap of 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes, which is the standard SOP for them. But in between, if something happens, and if that leads to a catastrophe, that leads to quality deterioration in the steel, that is not being recorded at least. So I'll just use my pointer. So to start with, any chances of breakout or any chances of freeze out in terms of temperature can be easily avoided if you have a continuous temperature measurement system. And you can link your casting speed through just by seeing the temperature of your metal that is very close to the ACN. You can monitor the preheat temperature. Based on that, you can preheat your refractory linings to the required level of temperature. Also, the gas flows or like the preheating gas can also be saved to a large extent. So in many SAIL plants, we have tried this, and we found that the gases that is being used for the preheating, the usage got reduced to a large extent. And also you can send the data back to the secondary steel making, to the LF operator to control the superheat. We have many papers published across the globe for this secondary steel making energy savings and fundamentally the savings in the financials for that particular steel plant. So this is the overall advantages in terms of the money, in terms of the reducing carbon footprint, in terms of safety, why you should go for a continuous temperature measurement system. So basically we have two products for this. We have an optical system which is called AccuView Optics. So this is from the top of the Tundish lead, and there is a hollow refractory tube that goes inside the molten metal. The principle is something different. This is the newest development of Vesuvius. It basically measures the radiation from the tip. So it basically measures the radiation from the tip by this optical sensor, and that is being converted to the temperature. We have another product called AccuCone, which actually senses through the thermocouple. So there is a thermocouple inside this refractory, you can see, and through this we measure the temperature inside the steel. So these are the two technologies that we provide. This is AccuOptics, this is AccuCone. What are the components for AccuOptics? You see, as I mentioned, so this is the hollow refractory tube. So this senses the radiation from the tip by this particular optical head on the top that goes through the optical cable to the junction box on the casting floor and to the main control unit then. where the data are being stored, and you can put this data to any of the level to your web system, and then you can take those data out from your USB stick or something like that, whatever you want. And also you can connect your deep system to the same main unit. We have come up with the wireless system as well in terms of measurement with AccuCone system. So this is the thermocouple you see that goes inside the tundis, and this is the wireless transmitter that is being put in on the tundis car. And we have a display which is in the control room, which is a very beautiful display, I must say. This is one display can show you 3 temperatures, 2 continuous temperature and 1 deep temperature, with the trend in a graphical format, in the tabular format. But we want, it's a complete touch screen system, Linux based, so you can modify the way you want, and this can operate at a range of 200 meters from the transmitter location. So this is another development in terms of the wireless technologies. This is what about continuous temperature that we have. The second that I would go for is the automatic mode level control of cert metal fans, which is the idea is, to produce a quality steel, you should have the much more smooth mold level, and then there are so many inclusions and all those stuff, and the safety issues. So better the mold level, better the steel quality. That's for sure. And how many percentage of time your mold level is steady, so that's also important. Like what we commit 93% of time, 95% of time of plus minus 1.5 millimeters, something like that, and with keeping your good throughput without slowing down the casting speed. So these 3 are the major parameters in terms of comparing how accurate the mold level control is. So what it is, it basically there is a flow valve, there is a stopper rod mechanism, there is a smart controller, and there is a mold level sensor. So basically data are being sensed by the mold level sensor that goes to the controller for a smart controlling, and by that it operates the flow valve to control the mold level. And of course, with that we have a refractory expertise for sure. So any type of the mold level issues, not only by supplying in the system, we can guide you through the refractory expertise as well. So as I mentioned, how it starts. So we have eddy current sensor, which is the state of the art, and the newest development we are giving it to plants from 2006 globally, and we have many references in India for these AMLCs as well. So this is the lathe sensor, and this is the suspended sensor. It senses the mold level, and then it sends to the controller, which is there in your control room. And this is the HMI, which is there in your control room to see all the parameters, to check all the parameters and all this stuff. There is a special function, a special computer that we install, that is a smart co, and probably we are the only one who install this when you have the mold level fluctuations due to waving effect, or maybe when you have mold level fluctuations due to bulging effect inside your mold. So that's where this Matco box comes into the picture, and we have so many references globally. People got a numerous benefit by using this separate Matco box for this kind of waving effect and the anti-bulging effect. So our controller senses those frequencies automatically, take care of this, and acts automatically to command the flow valve, which is a stopper rod mechanism, to control accordingly. There are so many advantages. I do not have that much of time to talk about the advantages of our mold level control system. Many of you must be knowing. We have the actuator. You can see it's mounted on the bottom of it. So it is a inline mounted actuator. The red one is the actuator, and the black one is the stopper rod mechanism. This is very slick, and this is inline mounted. So there is no chances of backlash where you have the parallel mounted actuator. These are very big in terms of size and weight. The weight of this actuator is, 13 kg is the lowest in the industry, and we have a patented connection for this actuator. So you can easily lift this actuator by your hand and clamp it with this particular stopper rod mechanism. It's very easy. We have many more advantages to talk about. but provided we have a limited time to showcase this. And just another point to mention, probably we are the only company, CERT is the only company who can give two different types of the eddy current sensors with the same control unit. People have only one. In our computation, if I talk about, we can provide additional suspended sensor as a backup sensor. If something goes wrong with this primary sensor mounted on the mold, so you can run your show with this particular suspended sensor, which is an emergency sensor in the same control unit, and we are the only one can provide it. So this is some photographs from site. You can see this is our stopper mechanism out of the tundish, and this is the ledge mounted eddy current sensor, as you can see on the mold, and this is the suspended sensor. So if during any mishandling or lesser maintenance or any big splash that is going on to the surface of this sensor, then if it is non-operative or malfunctioning, you can run your show with this suspended sensor, which is an emergency sensor for sure, in the same control unit. So that's the advantage that we can provide. The third solution that we have today is something called Reveal Cast. Reveal Cast is a product or solution that gives you a real-time monitoring of the surface. It scans the surface of the slabs that is coming out from the caster in the hot area itself, on the roller table itself. So our sensors and the cameras can sustain a temperature around environment temperature of around 1000 to 1200 degrees of Celsius. So we basically scan the entire surface of the slabs or billet or bloom, whatever it is. We have an algorithm in the control unit. It's basically an artificial intelligence that detects any type of defects on the surface in the hot zone itself, whether it's a longitudinal crack, horizontal crack, stickers, oscillation marks, whatever it is, and then it is being showed in the HMI to the operator. So today what many of the plants have, they need to wait to cool down the slabs for maybe few hours, few days, and then it's a manual intervention. People come and inspect. It is not possible manually to inspect every odd surfaces of the slab in a particular way. So this is something machine vision that we provide, and based on the type of the defects, you can always decide whether this slab needs to be pushed further for the rolling mills or not. So there is a huge amount of energy savings involved. Also, if you have a direct connection to the reheating furnace, so if some slabs are coming in a good condition, you can quickly take a call and send those to the reheating furnace directly. So the hot charging percentage increases rapidly with this kind of technology. In addition to that, we have the measurement of length, width, and dimensional measurement, and the cambering measurement of your product that is coming in. Just to tell you, this is all happening on the caster itself when you have a red hot slab coming out. So better the quick you understand what are the defects, then quick you decide what needs to be done with this, so that cumulatively, adding your energy efficiency, the carbon footprint of your plants get reduced, and of course it's a savings in terms of the money for the steel makers. I'll just show you how it operates. There's a animated video where you can see how it operates. So you see from the caster, the slabs are coming out. You can put our system anywhere before torch cutting or after torch cutting, where you want. So these are the special cameras or the sensors that are mounted on it. It scans the entire surface. All the surface can be scanned depending on what exactly customer needs are. And then on a real-time basis, it is showing to the operator who is there in the control room slab-wise data with the automatic markings on different types of the defects, as you can see. So it's a very easy HMI, I would say. You can generate the reports in different formats. You have slab wise data available. So you can track every individual product that you make, and you can use the same system to your rolling mills as well. So from starting to end, you can trace your product that is being produced by you. So any sort of customer complaints, if you get, so you can go back and check what went wrong at that particular slab or that particular lot maybe. So just to give the idea how it operates. So this 1, 2, these are the cameras. You can see this is the bottom camera and this is the top camera. This 3, this is the laser illuminating unit. So basically the laser goes on this and then gets reflected to the camera. So the camera sees that particular area. And similarly for all surfaces, if you want to put if you want to measure the top and the bottom surfaces, you need to put 2 cameras. If you want to get the corner cracks or the corners needs to be focused, so we can put the cameras in the corners or in these sides as well. And these data are going to this number 4, which is the heart of the system, which is the control unit, where we have an algorithm, and this is being showed to the HMI of the operator. In front of the operator, he can clearly see what are the defects coming in, what kind of if there is some inclusion, there is some sticker, there is some oscillation marks, longitudinal cracks, horizontal cracks, corner cracks, whatever it is. Additional benefit of dimensional measurements of the slabs, the cambering measurement of the slabs, the temperature distribution of the slabs, that all can be monitored here. Based on that, you can quickly take a call what needs to be done with this particular slab. Coming to my last solution, which is the breakout prevention. So if you see, if there is a sticking and you do not have a control on it, so it finally ends up with a breakout. Now with our system, which is called breakout prevention system, if there is a sticking, our system detects it automatically, then it heals, means it automatically slower down the casting speed. Then when it gets cooled off to a proper level, and then there is the skin is being recovered and there is no breakout happened when it goes out of the mold, and then the caster starts automatically in the normal speed. So we have we basically invented this system, if I'm not wrong. CERT invented this system way back in maybe 1980s, and we have various installations across the globe in Asia, Southeast Asia, so many places. We have these installations. What basically we do, we basically put 2 or 3 sets of thermocouples. As you understand, these are the layers of thermocouples that we put on the mold. So depending on the temperature variations and the speed of the caster, we can see at what level the temperature is going up and to what extent, to what time. So based on that, our control system decides at what level the speed to be reduced for healing, so that when it comes out, it doesn't get break. So it heals automatically by reducing the casting speed, and when it comes out, then again the caster starts at the normal speed. So here you can see a mold which is being modified with our SAPSAL breakout prevention system. So there are 2 layers of thermocouple. If you can see, we basically uses the same water jacket of the mold through which we pushes the thermocouple, and then we understand that if there is a chance of breakout or not. And we have a very good ratio of positive alarm and the negative or the false alarm, I would say. So normally our system gives 3 to 4% of false alarm, and rest all are the actual alarms. So based on that, you can have a very safe operating principle in your casting floor. So that is it for today. The idea is, as I was going through Mr. Sanjay Sharma's presentation. So people are going for the digitization in the steel plants. The reason being multifold. If you talk about today, people talk about green steel for the example, then lesser maybe carbon footprint of your plant. Maybe it backed up by the economic savings for the manufacturers, and of course getting those data from maybe continuous temperature, mold level control, maybe from surface scanning, maybe from breakout prevention system, you analyze to, gradually optimally casting your or optimally use your caster with a limited manpower or the limited resource. So the idea is to have a, I won't say manless casting, but with a little manual intervention. So this is how we, being the digital service business unit in Vesuvius, we are into in close collaboration. We work with different steel makers for the digitization of their steel plants in their casting process. Any questions that can be answered?
Thank you so much, Mr. Arpan Chakravarti, for a very interesting presentation, particularly with regard to the surface defects, temperature control of the caster. And if Mr. Sanjay Sharma has a question.
Yeah, so my question is see, we already have Arpan, we already have MLF and BOP systems working in all casters. I was not this slab surface inspection system. Have you ever had discussion with our steel melt shop people?
We just started, to be honest with you. We just started in JSW Vijayanagar. We offered our system, and in Dolvi we just started our discussion, to be honest with you. But yes, in Vijayanagar we have an offer of this same system with the return on investment calculations as well. So what are the benefits that you get? So to be honest with you, the returns are in terms of maybe in months.
So probably it will be beneficial if you just send me some introduction on this, so I can send it to the SMS people. Mr. S.C. Vishwanath, who is the vice president there, senior vice president there. This is something which is of interest to us, because many of those inspections we do in the scarfing system, the automotive scarfing system, it is there, but a slab which is not going to the automotive scarfing system is not inspected with the camera. Probably that will be something which is of interest to him.
Sure. Exactly so. So based on that, it would be very easy to decide that what needs to be done next, and that's how you have a good amount of savings in terms of the energy. So we have done a couple of places in India where we showed the customer there is a very good amount of energy savings by using this in the caster itself.
Okay. So let's discuss this in details sometime.
Sure.
So thank you, Sharmaji. Thank you, Mr. Arpan Chakravarti. Now, may I request, before summing up by Mr. Subrata Mitra, may I request Ankit to just highlight our next set of webinars and conferences before Subrata sums up the event, and Ankit, you may propose a vote of thanks after that. So yeah. First.
So so these are the webinars that we have coming up in 2021. I mean, the rest of the year, as well as a few. We have our next webinar, Long Steel Technology Forum, on the 9th of July, followed by which we have Technology, Market and Applications for Cold Rolling, Galvanizing and Coated Products. That will be on the 27th of August. We have, after that, we have Quality Steelmaking in Secondary Sector on the 24th of September. Then DRI, Pelletization and Scrap for EAF-IF Steelmaking on the 3rd of December 2021. These are the ones we have planned for this year. For 2022, as of now, we have planned Indian Refractory Conclave on the 22nd of April, and steel mill maintenance and lubrication on the 24th of June. But of course, many more webinars will be scheduled in 2022. And if situations are favorable, then we would also slowly transition back to physical seminars and conferences as well. But this is the plan that we have as of now. You're muted. Yeah.
I think you left out our physical conferences, which we plan for the end of this year, if situation is better.
If situations are correct, then yes.
Yeah. So last two were actually the one, if you which we had planned was the Steel Technology and Market Forum, which we have planned in Delhi on 19th November. And Indian Iron and Steel Making Conference in Vizag on 18th February 2022. So these are the two physical conferences we have planned. As of now, if everything is okay, or else we will go on virtual platform. So with that, Subrata, if you can just briefly sum up today's webinar, and Ankit, you may propose a vote of thanks after.
Thank you, Nirmalu. Thank you, Ankit. Thanks to all the panelists, esteemed panelists. It was quite a fruitful discussion, starting with Mr. Anil Kumar Chaudhary, ex-chairman SAIL. He gave a very wide picture of the steel industry, starting with increase in margin, EBITDA, gap between flat and longs, and elaborated reasons for increase in flat products price increase, abnormal price increase. Export prices are higher, flat exports are very high, which is also raising the price. He highlighted the future of flat products. And these are the things on the market, he said. And regarding technology, he touched upon requirement of endless hot rolled coil production. Acid-less pickling is a subject he touched upon. And he also highlighted the need for increase of steel use in the defense sector. Then Mr. Vijay Sharma, Director General Stainless Steel, spoke on the super cycles and the need to become Atmanirbhar as per government's initiative. Stainless steel prices are going up, have gone up. There is a dearth of raw material for stainless steel production in India because prices of stainless steel scrap, nickel, moly, and all other input material for stainless steel has risen quite appreciably, making the stainless steel price very high. Demand is good in the country. Top and priorities, General Stainless Steel participated. He was proud to describe the participation of General Stainless Steel in a nuclear project in France, where 2 companies participated, out of which General Stainless was one of them. Actually, General Stainless is keeping the flag of stainless steel production in India high. He explained also how stainless steel producers in India have been affected. One stainless steel making company is going for disinvestment. We know whom. Another stainless steel company, private sector, is closed. One has gone to NCLT. So this is the situation, very unfortunate, that the overall stainless steel production in India has gone down. Then Mr. Massimo Buccio from Danieli proposal presented the universal endless casting and rolling DUE. He described the production flexibility, high productivity possible, high quality, green approach. 100% coil to coil we showed. 100% endless production also was shown. He described that 120 millimeter thick slab casting speed is 6 meters per minute, 2000 millimeter wide. It was an ideal case he presented. Spoke on data analytics or intelligent casting and rolling. He presented the Shandong zinc tank plant, where HRC thickness of 0.8 millimeter has been achieved of 12.7 millimeter with thickness 0.8 to 12.7, slab thickness of 110 to 123 millimeter with a 200-ton wheat size. This is for 0.8. I don't think in India it is achieved. Steel grades possible in that machine, they could achieve peritectic, dual phase, API grade, HSLA, low carbon, medium carbon, high carbon, and wear resistant. Then Mr. R.V. Sridhar, PG and CEO, ArcelorMittal Coated Steel, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel Coated Steel, spoke about ArcelorMittal's initiatives being done. It is basically acquired. This plant has been acquired from street pre-coated steel. The production has picked up. Spoke on the capacity increase plan for the plant. 8% growth for color-coated steel is forecast. Sandwich panel and cold storage demand due to pandemic has increased for storing of various products. ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel is exporting quite a large amount of steel. It's likely to increase capacity. This plant is likely to increase the capacity by 2 million tons. Then Mr. Sanjay Sharma, Senior VP Mills of JSW Vijayanagar, presented the outlook and for technology and demand. Economic impact of COVID-19 was shown around. We spoke about the HR capacity, which is likely to come up. Supply chain disruptions happened during the pandemic. Operating staff were not available, which also hampered production. Demand shocks were there. So global and Indian scenario of HR or products. Demand drivers were also discussed. Railways being one of the high demand drivers. He gave information regarding the capacity of HR, which is likely to go up to 60 million ton in FY26. Most of the producers are busy exporting. That is one of the reasons we highlighted for this HRC price increase. The last speaker was Mr. Chaudhary of Vesuvius. Flow Control Digital is known. We spoke about the SAPSOL system, which is very well known in the industry regarding various condition-related equipment measurement, temperature measurement, breakout prevention system, automatic mold-level control through eddy current. Detailed SAPO Tech, which means online slab hot surface conditioning. This is a new technology which we want to know, which will measure the surface defects, if any, of the slabs coming out of the machine. So in short, we had a very fruitful and technological panel discussions, and thank you all the panelists. This is in brief.
Thank you, Subrata. Thank you for once again summing up today's session so very well. And I think we had quite a few very interesting presentations today, starting from SAIL Chairman, Mr. Vijay Sharma, and Mr. Sanjay Sharma as well. So it was a very, I would say, very interesting webinar in terms of interaction and content. So, you know, as we keep saying, we must keep updating our knowledge and keep interacting on a regular basis and more often, even during the pandemic, because this is a very challenging time for all of us. And let us be honest, this is one time where we get a little time to, rededicate ourselves towards what we have already achieved or we plan to achieve. So with that, I will request my son Ankit to propose a vote of thanks. And after that, we meet for our next long steel technology conclave. And before that, if our chairman, Mr. Subrata Mitra, comes up with any new subject which needs attention, we will definitely take that up. Over to you, Ankit.
Yeah. So, I would just like to say thank you to all the attendees and all the panelists for joining us today. And my heartfelt gratitude to our silver sponsors, JSW Steel and Danelli, and our steel sponsor, Maxis Motion. And a special thanks to the organizing committee, which is led by Mr. Subrata Mitra, and to everyone from the Steel and Metallurgy team for making this event possible. So thank you all for joining us today. And with that, I would like to conclude today's meeting.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Everybody.